Live.
Oh God, that was so loud in my ears.
Sorry.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. So, guys, things are tough. Things are today is going to be one of those shows that is kind of heavy. Kind of. I don't know, Susie. What kind of stories do we have today? What
Well,
kind
I
of news are
mean,
we covering?
like, not 100% heavy. Let me be clear. Like, we have to cover some really hard, horrible things in the beginning of the show. And then pretty much from then on, it's going to improve. Okay.
Okay.
And then by the end of the show, we're going to be covering a bunch of stories about how. Do you remember how last week I was talking about how the Associated Press did a huge like portfolio of the rise of people leaving
Yes.
religion around the world? And so we have like several more stories from that series that we're going to cover. And also not from that series, but there just happens to be a lot of journalism coming out about people leaving religion recently.
Oh.
So
No.
yeah, we're gonna cover some of that. So it's gonna we have to cover some hard things at the beginning of this show. But then by the end we're just gonna be having more fun.
Okay. Okay, good. People in the live chat are already telling us where they're watching from. So, guys, please keep doing that. That's really helpful because we have a very global audience and a very global show from all around the world. So let me actually just highlight some of them. Zaid is saying hi from Jordan. Atheist Damon is saying hi from New Zealand. And Space Sheila from Sweden. Kurt from Turkey. I'm just saying the short version. Hammers from USA. Matt from Poland.
That really
Yes.
is Polish though. You see the word and then immediately get intimidated by the word and then just abandon ship. That's how I treat Polish. I'm not gonna lie.
And Veiled from UK. Oh, Gaz from Scotland. So, guys, Kenny from Belgium. I'm gonna just really quickly go through. Ram from France. Secular Sekai from Antarctica. And Seed from Jahannam, which means hell. Nasreen, hi, Nasreen is here from Sweden. Oh, Nasreen, Nasreen is a big fan from the Persian side. I'm glad that you're here.
I know. I love when there's crossover.
Yeah. So, what countries are we covering today?
We have stories in the United States, and then one segment that's going to be like 5 stories in one from all over the world. Another story that's more global: Pakistan, India, Argentina, Italy, Poland, and the U.S. Again.
Okay. All right. So I'm not even going to ask this time if we can clap for the first news because it's one of those bad ones I can see, really bad ones. So yeah, should we just jump into it? Do you want to just start first news?
God. Yeah, but I just want to highlight this joke before we talk about something that's horrible because it made me smile. Zaid is saying Polish was invented by a dad losing at Scrabble. And Sakai is saying, and Icelandic was when that same dad had a stroke.
And Lucifer from Malaysia. By the way, guys, I know it sometimes feels weird that we have heavy, dark, tragic news, and like we're sometimes like saying some jokes before and after it. But honestly, it's so hard to live. It's so hard to sometimes dark. You need a little bit of humor so you could just go through all of this. You know what I mean? Or else it's just, or else you're just going to paralyze yourself, or else you're just going to completely shut everything off. Sometimes you need like when you need to consume news that is this to make sure that you're able to continue consuming this kind of content and make sure you're aware. Sometimes you need to a little bit of rest, a little bit of a refresher, or else you're just going to completely shut yourself off because you can't just take it anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I see it. But if you guys have any other opinions, let me know.
No, it's
Also, just
so
so
yeah. Colin is saying
yeah,
humor is so much more important than one may think. It's true. It's one of our most important coping mechanisms. I mean, like literally,
exactly.
why do you think Jewish Americans are like famed for their humor? Like
Yeah, yeah.
around the
Actually, you're
world,
right.
Jews are known for how funny they are because it's how they survive thousands of years
E-
of being persecuted.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So it's been shown that some of the greatest comedy comes from the most tragic, the most oppressed, the most um, discriminated against groups of people come up with the best comedy because it is a coping mechanism. Yeah, you're right. And also people are saying happy 40K subscribers, guys. Thank you so much. We got to 40K.
That's so
Thank you for noticing.
exciting. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
thank you, guys.
The Atheist
Guys, make sure
Republic
you.
militia, our army is now 40,000 strong. If you're not a part of the Atheist Republic army, you have to join, hit subscribe, make sure you like this
Yes.
stream. We're here together as a community trying to, I don't know. Well, one, our mission is, to provide support and community for people who have left religion. And also, we care about the world. Our tagline is atheists who give a shit. And we're here to learn about the world and the issues that affect other people outside of our own borders, because we know that these issues don't, just stay in one place. We're in a global struggle. As the
Yeah.
guy saying, join the godless herd now.
All right, guys. By the way, I just want to give you a warning. Okay, when it comes to the first news, I am going to time out anybody who makes light of this. Anybody who says this person like they deserve it or anything like that, I'm going to time them out. Right.
Yeah, because
So
this one is just like beyond the pale. This is, yeah.
yeah, anybody who thinks like they say that they brought this to themselves, they deserve this happening to them, or makes light of this crime is going to
Yeah.
where so anyways, um let's get into it again. I don't know what else
Yep.
to say.
Yep. Okay. So, yep, guys, just a heads up, these first two news stories are going to be more difficult, but then it just gets better from here. Okay. Darko is saying, fair warning. Yep. Okay, so let's get started. First news: horrific anti Muslim attack. 6-year-old killed by neighbor angered by Hamas. In a harrowing incident that shocked communities across the United States, 6-year-old Palestinian American boy Wadia Al Fayoumi was stabbed 26 times and killed in his home in Plainfield, Illinois. His mother, Hannah Shaheen, who was also stabbed multiple times but is expected to survive. The suspect, 71-year-old Joseph Kuzuba, their landlord, was charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of aggravated battery, and 2 counts of a hate crime. Authorities stated that the victims were targeted by the suspects due to them being Muslim in the ongoing Middle Eastern conflict involving Hamas and the Israelis. U.S. President Joe Biden weighed in declaring, "This horrific act has no place in America." The incident not only led to a federal hate crime investigation, but also sparked widespread public outcry. It serves as a chilling testament to the rising tide of hate crimes, further inflamed by the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas in the Middle East. So this is just next level. This is just next level. And I think when I was reading and doing some research into this story, um, it really raised so many questions for me, and then also just like confusion about how us as humans are such weird, unpredictable animals. Because so this family was living in this home, and they had this landlord named Joseph. And Joseph was like 71 years old. And what confuses me is that Joseph previously was very accepting and very friendly towards this family. I read reports that Joseph like even built the little boy like a tree house and would do kind things for the family. And um according to reports, this guy had been listening to conservative talk radio, and I guess just, I mean, not to be flippant, but I don't know how else to describe it, as just like he lost his mind. Like flew into a rage. Um because he one day just went down to the family's property. I don't know the exact sequence of events because it hasn't been reported on, but I'm imagining that they knew him, so they would have let him into the house. Like oftentimes when there's an attack, you can tell if the how it went down. If the person was a stranger, there'd be signs of a struggle that there wouldn't be in otherwise if the person was known to them, right? And he was known to them. And there are reports that when the mother like answered the door because she knows this man, that okay, YouTube, I am saying this because I am reporting on this for educational purposes. This is not a statement that we believe, support, and we condemn it. I'm reporting on this. Okay. There are reports of saying that when she answered the door, he just literally said, like, all Muslims must die and started attacking her. And um somehow we ended up getting to the boy and attacking the boy, and he stabbed this 6-year-old 26 times with a 7-inch serrated military blade. And it's so it's like so heartbreaking on so many different levels. Like this family literally came from Palestine to be safer in our country, and then this is what happens to their little boy who's born here. And it's also so disturbing to me because different kinds of crimes tell you a lot about the person committing them, and to and about their mentality at the moment, right? And an attack of this kind is so personal because it's so up close. It's person to person. And he continued to attack this boy 26 times he was stabbed. Like, it's hard for me to imagine what the mentality of doing that would be like, to do it and then continue to do it for so long to this baby. Um, like when I found out about this, it just broke me. Um, and there was a large funeral held for him. Hundreds of people attended his funeral. The mother is expected to survive. And I just really hope that that family gets whatever support they need. And the father gave an interview referring to his son as a martyr and saying that he hoped that the people of Gaza would accept his son as a martyr. And I was thinking yesterday about how I don't like that language in general, because I think it's in the grand scheme of things kind of dangerous. But I was thinking about how I don't blame the father for thinking that way, because it must be unbearable to deal with this, and that would probably be the only thing that could offer you psychologically any form of comfort. To think, okay, well, my son, he died this way, and now he's going to go to the highest place in heaven. Um, I don't know. I mean, there isn't really much more to say about this news. It's so barbaric. But it's important. It's important to not shy away from the fact that these kinds of things happen. And it's important to show what happens when we get so caught up and wound up in our own hate. That he would do this to a family that he previously gave a home and helped and would play with these kids.
I heard that the Jewish community came in to give the. I heard this, and also some people mentioned also in the live chat, but I also heard it somewhere else that the Jewish community came to give the kid a funeral or something like that. Have you heard anything about that?
Oh, I
After,
didn't hear about that.
yeah, I heard that as well, guys. If you can confirm this. I just want to remind people how important it is to, when you're talking about news like this, to constantly separate, when you're condemning any actions, to separate that from a collective, a group of people, because you might think it's obvious, especially given that if you talk to other people who know that when you're condemning Hamas, or any other, terrorists, it's obvious that you're not condemning an entire group of people, not Palestinians, not Muslims, not Arabs, not any of these collectives. You're not condemning them entirely. It might be obvious to us that we're not doing that, but because what we say might have that impact on our audience, it's sometimes when I keep saying that, people say, yes, Armin, we get it. Like, why do you keep repeating it? But it seems like we're not. Given actions like this, given events like this, I think it's important to say it as many times as you can, just to make sure that you're not having that influence on people. That you make sure that nobody's taking what you're saying when you're against Islam, when you're against terrorism, when you're against radicalism. Nobody in your audience, you can you can never be absolute, but you can minimize that hatred towards Arabs, or that hatred towards Muslims, or that hatred towards any other general group like Palestinians. You're not responsible for that. You have done all your best to make sure that you are very, very selective about what you're condemning, and you're being very precise. Does that make sense?
Yeah, secular psychiatry,
Yeah.
it's crucial to always differentiate between militants and civilians.
Yes. Even civilians who with bad takes, because I've noticed when we're defending civilians, sometimes people say, well, yeah, but they support this. Okay. First of all, that is also a generalization. Many of them do support it, many of them don't. You don't know which ones do, which ones don't. But even if the ones who do, bad takes are just bad takes. It doesn't make you a terrorist. It
Yeah, that
doesn't make
shouldn't be a
you,
death penalty.
yes, that doesn't make you worthy of something like that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I mean, if people were guilty, deserved anything close to this because of bad takes, and we all deserve this because everybody has bad takes. I just want to, yeah. Anyways,
Also, this person is a fucking disgusting coward.
hmm,
To go after a
yeah,
mother and her young child when they're unattended to and defenseless. What a fucking coward.
yeah. Anyways, we should go to the next news, which is also bad. We have, oh, thank you, Veiled Rose. Thank you so much for that. Oh, thank you, Animation, for getting 5 membership gifts for people in the live chat. Appreciate that.
Thank you. That's very
And
nice, Animation. Who are
thank
the
you.
new members?
Well, one of them is me, so thank you for that. So,
Oh, wait, really? You've
yeah.
Received the membership?
Yes. So
That's so funny.
um,
And wait, really quickly, Veiled Rose is saying like and share the live already. Patreon and subscriber, proud to support you in my own little way. Thank you, Veiled
oh,
Rose. And guys,
thank
don't
you.
forget that there are many different ways to support this show. This show wouldn't be able to continue without the support of our community and you guys doing so much to make sure that we can continue. So if you want to support, you can become a Patreon or a monthly donor. Link is in the description. Or just make sure to like and subscribe, share, tell your friends, like, hey, these guys do interesting work. I learn a lot. I learn about the world. Maybe you think we're funny or cute. And although we have to talk about some hard things today, the show isn't usually this rough. It's just
Yeah.
it's a rough time to be alive at the moment.
Yeah. We got a super sticker from Kenny. Thank you so
Oh,
much,
thank
Kenny,
you, Kenny.
for the 10 euro super sticker. And then we got Secular Sakai said, liked and shared announcement of the live on Discord. Oh, well, thank you. That's amazing. Guys, our Discord, please try to get our Discord community more active. Link to our community is in the description. Go and make some noise there. Talk to people. Introduce yourself. Try to get
Imagine
our
the
Discord
live
community.
chat, but 24/7.
Yes, exactly. And Nasrin gave us a super chat saying, I love you, Susanna and Armin. Oh, we love you too, Nasrin. Thank you. Nasrin from Sweden.
Thank you,
Oh, by the way,
Nasrin Jun. Kheli mamnoon.
Nas. Oh, that's cute. All right. And then we got oh, Parisha Parsh, a $10 super chat. Do you want to read that one?
Oh God.
Oh, you want me to read it instead?
No,
I can read it.
okay, you can respond. What happened to this boy is wrong, but I feel like after reading all the horrible things, pain, misery Muslims inflict on women and religious minorities, I'm losing sympathy for them when they are actually oppressed.
Well, I hope you find a way not to feel like that. I really hope, because this is your humanity that we're talking about. This is your sense of sympathy. I'm not gonna. I understand how our brains operate like that, and this is a miss. Our brains have not been designed. Have not The wiring of our brain is not perfect for us to think rationally. When events like this happen, we are tribalist. We think collectively. We generalize, and we don't recognize. We have horrible pattern recognition, right? But I when you're feeling like that, just know that it's wrong to feel like that. It's As long as I don't want you to blame yourself for thinking like that, because it is a problem with our brain that does attribute guilt to a collective wrongly. Like, it is a fault. It is the way you're feeling is, unfortunately, sometimes even the best of us sometimes feel like that. As long as you know that it's wrong and you work on it not to feel like that, because this is how our humanity dies within us, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is how, when you're fighting monsters and you're trying to you become those monsters, you have to understand that if you feel like that, you are you are making what those terrorists try to achieve more possible. This is exactly the reaction that
That's
they
actually
need and they
exactly what
want.
they want. This is what they want, and you're showing that they're winning, actually. Yuval Harari
Yes,
was talking about that. He's saying that this is a war on the heart and the mind. This is
right.
what Hamas did, was a war upon all of humanity to break our fundamental belief and shatter our ideas about what humans are capable of.
Yes.
That's the real
Again.
war. And you're
Mm,
helping them win. If you feel like this, I want you to just like genuinely sit down and think about it. Because the more that you think like this, you are taking steps closer to commit acts like we just described. This is dehumanization. And when we dehumanize people, even our enemies, we become capable of the worst acts we have ever seen. If you start
yes.
thinking about like this, you're going to start acting and thinking like the people that you feel this way towards, which is the opposite of what we should want. So, genuinely, I implore you to just sit down and think about this.
Again, I know sometimes it's hard because our mind is wired to think like that, right? But as long as you understand that there's something not right here, and you take the time, you could forgive yourself for feeling like that, because you're just human. But you take the time to understand that this is not the way, not the most effective way, not the most productive way to get out of the cycle of hatred. And then one thing I suggest is to go look at what they're dealing with, right? I mean, I am somebody who defends Israel and Israel's right to protect itself. But every time that right to protect itself causes in civilian casualties, I remind myself that that's a tragedy. I have to remind myself that that's a tragedy. Even if it was something that couldn't have been avoided, it doesn't mean that it doesn't make it any less of a tragedy. And if I feel less like that, I feel like my humanity is dying, and I will try to go find a way to get upset. Sometimes we need to get upset. If I hear civilian casualties and it's not making me upset, there's something breaking inside of me. I'm losing something precious inside of me that I have to go and fix it. Sometimes it's good to be sad.
Perfectly put. And that's actually why I have no problem getting emotional in the show, because I think it's important. Okay, Prashi is saying, I will. That boy was an innocent child. Thank you, Prashi. Thank you for taking heed to what we have to say. I appreciate it.
And also thank you for being so honest. Because a lot of people have these dark feelings inside of them, and they just keep it there and they don't talk about it. But it's good if we're having dark feelings. It's good to come and talk to other people. Be this brave to talk to other people about it, because that's how we can fix these things. So, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
All right.
So let's go into the next news, and really, it's going to be like 5 news in one, because there is so much that happened that I just decided to combine it all into one. Okay. Next news. Terrorism spikes globally after start of Israeli-Gaza war. In the wake of the recent Israeli-Hamas conflict, a series of violent incidents have erupted globally, causing concern about the spillover of tensions. In Tunisia, a historic synagogue was destroyed amid rioting, depriving the city of Al-Hama of a key part of its Jewish heritage. In France, a teacher was fatally stabbed in what President Emmanuel Macron described as an act of Islamist terrorism, putting the government under intense scrutiny. Additionally, France has seen a surge in anti-Semitic attacks, with police recording more than 320 physical acts and making over 180 arrests in the first 10 days of the Israel-Hamas conflict. Incidents range from threats outside synagogues to graffiti advocating violence against Jews. Germany witnessed a firebomb attack on a Berlin synagogue, leading Chancellor Olaf Scholz to vow to increased protection for Jewish institutions. Meanwhile, Brussels was put on the highest terror alert after a fatal shooting disrupted a Euro 2024 qualifier between Belgium and Sweden. The attacker claimed allegiance to the Islamic State, ISIS, and said the act was, quote, revenge in the name of Muslims. These incidents have heightened fears and led to increased security measures as governments grapple with the international ramifications of the Israel-Hamas conflict. So, this is what's really scary, is that we see an explosion of these kinds of events whenever things start to get touchy in Israel and Palestine in particular. And I mean, just to be blunt, it's got to be really scary to be a Jew right now, no matter where you are. I mean, Armin, you sent me that video with Andrew Gold, and he's a British, well, he's an atheist, but he's Jewish ethnically, and he started thinking about, okay, like, if Israel's gone, theoretically, like, where would I go? He's like, there wouldn't be a single place in Europe where I would stay as a Jew. I'd go to America. And I think it's really scary and devastating that people have to start thinking that way. And then there are 2 things I want to clarify about 2 of the stories that I just mentioned. So with the stabbing to death of that teacher in France, the president, Emmanuel Macron, has explicitly called it Islamist terrorism. Now, based on reporting, I have not seen that it is explicitly related to this conflict. And same thing with the shooting terrorist attack in Brussels, where 2 Swedes were killed.
But it's very likely that they are. Very, very likely.
Yeah. I mean, well, just to finish my sentence, we're not seeing an explicit connection at this point, but I think it's possible, if not likely, that it's kind of I don't know the right way to put this, like, tensions are so heightened that people just go out and do it. But they might not make their motivation explicitly about the Palestinian cause or whatever. So I'm curious, I can get into more detail about any specific one of these attacks. But Armin, have you been thinking about all this stuff that's been popping off in the past 2 weeks? Because it's been deeply concerning.
Mm. So I want people to understand. I think people don't know how deep this goes. The 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 anti-Jewish hatred that exists in the world, it's the most deep-rooted and one since the more than 2,000 years old. Like, we have a very, very, like, I mean, if you spend enough time in enough communities, both online and offline, you understand that other forms of discrimination are very, very surface level, like very basic compared to the tentacles and the deep roots that anti-Semitic views have around the world, and how it goes across many different religions and cultures. It is one of the most agreed upon discriminations and hatred that exists, that has years and years of stories and um, tropes and stereotypes that keep feeding into each other, and the conspiracy, and as religion has made it a lot stronger, and it has, I don't know how to explain this, but it's so fundamental. It's such a fundamental part of, unfortunately, human culture right now, that it is very obvious how unsafe the world is to Jewish people, and how unreliable it is for them to depend on other powers to defend them. Do you
Yo,
understand what
if
I'm
the
saying?
past 2 weeks have taught me anything, it's that at the end of the day, only the Jews can protect themselves. It's just like crystal clear.
Right.
Like, I
I
know
mean,
how I feel about it, but in mass, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, okay, because I made this post on my story like within the first few days after the Hamas attack, and basically it was when the statistic actually came out where it's like this is the largest mass killing of Jews since the Holocaust. And I basically said, because in America, at least in my school, we had Holocaust education. I had Holocaust education at a very young age. I was like 14. And we learned about the atrocities in detail, right? Um, and I said, when we learn about the Holocaust when we were kids, we sit in our little school desks and think, what would I do if this happened when I was alive? And then I said, and now we find out. And now we find out. Now we find out how people act. Now we find out what people actually believe. Now we find out who is actually willing to come to their defense. And I don't know. I guess I take that lesson really seriously, because I think, especially considering that I used to be like full blown Antifa, and Antifa is supposed to come from the tradition of anti-fascists resisting Nazi occupation. It's just so ironic to me that the people that spring their it's not really philosophy, it's more of a tactic, but from this history are some of the far lefties who express some of the most anti-Semitic opinions I've heard. Because a lot of people like to fantasize about what they would do if they're in the Holocaust. Oh, I would be one of the good ones that saves the Jews. Maybe this is just like an impression we get because of Hollywood or something. And I think this is a rude awakening about what the reality would actually be like. You know, maybe I'm talking out my ass, but you tell me what you think, Armin.
No. So the point I was trying to get at is, those are, yeah, I agree with you, but the point I was trying to get at is that a lot of non-Jewish people don't understand how any support that the Jewish people face is temporary. It's based on the current political and ideological atmosphere that exists. And what you have to realize is that the Jewish hatred is more deep rooted than any current support that they're facing. Some people, like, for example, somebody in the chat was mentioning, everyone saying, they can rely on the US too, though. No. If anything, if you go look at history, the Jewish people, when they were facing, so when they were taking, the support is temporary based on whatever the need was at the time, right? So we had Jewish people most of the time did not have their own independent land. And even in ancient times when they had Israel, they were living under empires, right? There were the Babylonian Empire, and then the Persian Empire, and the Roman Empire, and then the Persian Empire again, and then the Ottoman Empire. But they had to they had to wait and see what these other powers, and then the British Empire, all this time throughout their history, they had to see who, if other people would take care of them or not, because they didn't have their own standing army. And then the American Empire, right? After the British Empire. But either these empires were good to them or not good to them, but they didn't have, it was not their control. There was a lot of Jewish hatred all around the world. Started with the Romans, right? And then it spread everywhere. And it just became so deep rooted. And at some point, they realized that we cannot wait and see if these empires or these world powers are going to protect us from all this hatred or not. We need to have our own army. We cannot rely on other people. I mean, look at even right now. The United States has a lot of support for Israel. But what if the price of oil drops? What if we have alternative energy and then United States decides to focus mostly on China and the Middle East becomes a less important place for United States, in the next 50 years or so? And there's right now, if you look in the United States, there is very, very low support historically for United States supporting Israel with its military power. It's at historic lows. And if anything, the US politicians listen to their electorate. Like, it's going that route. Every generation of Americans are having less desire for their government to support Israel than the one before it. So given the
Americans in general are becoming very isolationist.
Right.
Especially
So
my generation.
Given the oil becoming less and less important and Middle East becoming less important, given how China is going to be more and more important for United States going forward, and given Americans being less interested in United States supporting Israel with their military aid, and given the recent attack, the greatest mass killing of Jewish people and other Israelis in the history of Israel, if you don't understand how important it is to have a country of Israel that it could rely on itself and have its own military, we are now reminded again, just like World War II and what happened in there showed us how important it is for us to have a country by the Jews who at least welcomes Jews. Like, it doesn't have to be, again, I don't think it needs to be a Jewish country, but I do think it needs to have a country that welcomes Jews always as citizens and protects them. At least that. It took one big tragedy for us to remember how important it is to protect Jewish people. And now it's taking another tragedy for people to see, yeah, we need to defend Israel. We need to defend this country, and this country needs all the protection and support it could get. And if these recent events doesn't show you that, I don't know what will. I don't know what will.
No, I agree. I agree.
Mm.
One thing that I think is really concerning is that with two of these attacks that happened, so with the shooter in Brussels, this was a failure of the system. Okay, here's a quote from an article I was reading. Belgium's justice minister has resigned after it emerged that the Islamic extremist who shot dead 2 Swedes in Brussels this week had been denied asylum and was sought for extradition by Tunisia. For 2 years. He had been denied asylum 2 years ago, and he was still in Europe. Official documents show that Lassued, that was his last name, had lodged asylum applications in Norway, Sweden, Italy, and Belgium. That's not how the asylum system is supposed to work. He stayed in Belgium illegally after his bid for asylum was rejected in 2020. So ministers are resigning over this because they're like, how did we allow this guy to just disappear into the system? He was like, had been known as a potential threat. Same thing with the guy that stabbed the teacher to death in France, which brought up very vivid memories of the murder of Samuel Paty, who was murdered almost exactly 3 years ago to the date, because he was murdered in September. He was beheaded in the suburbs of Paris for teaching his students about the civic value of how France feels about secularism and free speech. I will never forget the pictures I saw of his beheaded head on the sidewalk, on the pavement. And the person that did this attack on this new teacher, he had been brought in for questioning literally the day before by like security authorities. And so because of this, he'd been on lists because they thought that his family was radicalized and he was in contact with his family. But the problem was that he had been brought to France from Russia or Chechnya or something when he was a child. And under French law, you are not allowed to deport someone that was brought to France before the age of 13. And because of this, they're now going to be lifting that obstacle in the immigration bill. And I don't know the details. I don't know the details of the law, and there's probably more details that maybe make me throw up questions or whatever. But at this moment, I'm like, yeah. If you think someone is a genuine threat to this country and they're living here and they were brought in, I don't know exactly what his citizenship status was. It doesn't matter how old were you when you came. You got to get them out. But so, Armin, I think with all of these different attacks happening around the world, especially in Europe, a lot of Europeans are really, for lack of a better term, like looking at the problem that's in their backyard. So what do you think about that and the consequences that this is going to have? I mean, people have been absolutely shocked by the displays of honestly pretty explicit support for Hamas running through the streets of Europe, including, yeah. So what do you think?
This is only gonna get worse, and I don't see any serious politicians trying to address this. I don't see any serious pushback against this, I don't know, takeover. I don't know if I should call it that.
Yeah, you would usually never use that language.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't use that language. but I don't know that there's moral bankruptcy right now all over Middle East, and it's spreading. It's spreading to Europe. Well, not all over the Middle East. Iranian people are standing strong in support of Israel. So there's that. But I didn't. I think at least this we see who's standing where after this. At least a lot of things are becoming, because there has been a lot of warnings about the spreading of illiberalism around the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like the attack on Ukraine made it apparent on who's standing with liberalism and who's standing with illiberalism and where they are in that war, this is another warning. It's a major warning about every time an attack like this happened, we could see, it's like a flash. We could just see for a short moment how much illiberalism is spreading and where exactly. And how far are we losing this battle? Where are we winning this battle? And where are we losing this battle? And I think we have to reevaluate. We have to look at everything and see where are the ideological battlefronts are, right? It's not just the military battleground that we have to worry about. It's the ideological battleground that we have to worry about. And right when we all the soldiers in this ideological battleground need to rearrange exactly where are they targeting after everybody has made their position clear. Like, we now know for sure that Iranian people, for example, are a major ally when it comes to winning this battle for liberalism. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't use that
Mm-hmm.
as an asset, then I don't know what you're going to do, right? Because that's a lot of people. That's 80, more than 80 million people there that were the vast right in the Middle East. So we have illiberalism spreading in Europe. So they are hitting us where liberalism started and grew. But then the base defense is an offense. So look at where this is coming from. It's coming from the Middle East. If
It's
if
coming from the
illiberalism
Islamic
is,
Republic of Iran.
yes, exactly. But here's my point. Let me finish this point because this is important. I want this to be very clear. If illiberalism is coming for the heart of liberalism, which is in Western Europe, then the source of this illiberal values we has also it's we have the advantage of also having at the heart of the Islamic world in the Middle East a place where liberalism is growing. So don't just play the defense, go there and target this poison at the source, and look at where your allies are, because your allies is not just the Israeli people. And I think we need to build a bridge between Israeli people and Iranians, because in a place where it's a moral wasteland right now, we have only two groups of people that could turn the tides. And again, the main barrier to all of this, to us being, this is where it all comes together. The main barrier for us to be able to take advantage of all this political and human capital is the Islamic Republic. Of Iran, because it's the Islamic Republic of Iran who is responsible for exporting this ideology out of the Middle East to Europe and across the Middle East and against Israel. Because remember, Hamas is also funded and organized and supported by the Islamic Republic. So it's the Islamic Republic that is responsible for almost all of this mess. And at the same time, it's the Islamic Republic that is keeping the people who are the solution to all of this mess in chain. Like, the greatest asset that we have in this battle are the Iranian people, which are being held back by the Islamic Republic.
Yes. I want to build off of what you said, but I have a quick question. When you were talking about European politicians' failure to address this problem appropriately, what do you think would be the solution? If you have any idea. I think about this a lot recently.
I think they're being too sensitive about offending people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. I think them knowing what the problem is and not addressing it because of cultural sensitivities. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh my God. If Denmark moves forward with this Quran burning blasphemy law at this point, I'm going to throw my computer out a window like that. I hope that got chucked right out of Parliament. Oh my God. Now is not the time for cowardice and apologizing for the values that bring the most prosperity to the most humans around the world. I'm sorry. As a side note, I know we got a lot of super chats that we need to address. So thank you everyone for all the support. So we'll get that to in a second. But I just want to say, like I said, one thing that I've been thinking about a lot recently is integration of immigrants. And so if anyone has any books about the integration, successful examples of the integration of immigrants in the 21st century, please let me know. Like message me on Instagram or something. My Instagram is in the description because I've been thinking about it very, very deeply.
Well, I wrote an article about this. If you guys are interested in that.
Oh, true. I mean, yes, but I want more of like a full blown book. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, for people who are would like to read an article about this instead of a book, I wrote an article about this, so I will link on Queer Majority. I will link to that in the live chat if you're interested.
But the thing is, I think I want to read this book by Keenan Malik titled Multiculturalism and Its Discontents. I think that's maybe what I need. Anyways, let's go and dive into all of these super chats that we got because damn, you guys are not holding back. A lot of people have thoughts. Mike, the random guy, gave us £5. Thank you, Mike. He said, "Hi, everyone. Long time no see. Good to see you again, Mike." Veiled Rose gave us a nice comment. She said, "This is so painful, Armin and Susanna. Hats off to you for your calm and compassion." Hey, thank you. You know, it's difficult, but we try. And she also gave us a £5 super sticker. Thank you. And Sid Dave gave us a bunch of super chats, and so I'm gonna do those as a chunk at the end in a second. So Shika gave us a super chat saying, "I'm quite late, but good evening to all Atheist Republic family." Hello, Shika. Good evening. Tim May also just gave us $20. No comment, just $20. Thank you that's very, very generous, Tim. Thank you. Also, Homo Sapien just became a new member. So welcome to Satan's Minions, Homo Sapien. Guys, don't forget that being a member is a great way to support the show. And not only are you supporting us to make sure that we continue to do what we do, provide community for all of you who love to come here every week, but also you get cool emojis. So make sure to like demonstrate your emojis in the live chat. Okay. Okay, so let's go with this question from Secular Sakai quickly. Thank you for the $10 super chat, Sakai. Do you believe that the recent U.S., Israel, and Palestinian Authority attacks for the Palestinian Authority to retake control of Gaza after Hamas is crushed will bear fruit?
It said talks, not attacks.
Oh, excuse me.
Palestinian Authority. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I said that. My dyslexia jumped out. Can Fatah win the hearts of Gazans after this?
No. Well, not in this current condition. So let me read this again. Do you believe that the recent U.S., Israel, Palestinian Authority talks for the Palestinian Authority to retake control over Gaza after Hamas is crushed will be... No, not right now. Mahmoud Abbas is very weak, very unpopular, very corrupt. Palestinian peoples do not accept them, unfortunately. It's the only alternative that we have, but there's a lot of support for Hamas, unfortunately, after the recent attacks. And Mahmoud Abbas is very old, very disconnected from the Palestinian people, and he's also kind of stuck, between a rock and a hard place, because um, they need to work with the Israeli government, but if they do, been seen as traitors, and they haven't. Okay, so here's the thing: the Palestinian authorities, they have done such a poor job in managing the West Bank, which is so much easier to manage than Gaza. Imagine now giving that, if the worst management ever of West Bank, given how poor their record is, now give them Gaza, which is almost impossible to govern by the Palestinian Authority. I mean, if imagine if the Palestinian Authority is unpopular in the West Bank, given that Palestinians in the West Bank are less radical than the Palestinians in Gaza, and they are this unpopular there, imagine the level of unpopularity they must have in Gaza, where people voted for Hamas when they had the chance.
I don't think I'd want to set foot over there.
No, this is like almost an impossible task. I mean, that's why some people are saying that maybe Saudi Arabia or Qatar should come and take over the management of Gaza. Right? Maybe that, because the PA, it seems like an impossible task for them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
also the recent, let me just say, the recent talks did not involve Israel. So I don't know, Israel was not invited. So I don't know, the recent talks that they had, it did not involve Israel at all, which makes the talks useless. But go on.
Yeah. Okay, so let's address these super chats by Sid Dave. I'm just going to read all three in one chunk. Thank you for all the super chats, Sid. Saying the most radical Muslims come from these areas: Chechnya, Dagestan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and North Africa. West should ban immigration from these countries. Immigration will lead to a decline in liberalism in the West, as many immigrants don't care about LGBT rights, anti-Semitism, and they all vote left. So, and then finally, actually, let's respond.
No, wait, yeah, respond to these two actually first. Yeah, because those countries, because they have the most radicals, that's the reason why you shouldn't stop immigration, because there are people who live there who are facing a lot, especially LGBT from that community, especially ex-Muslims, especially other minorities, because they are the most radical. I mean, I am all for more filtering and stricter filtering. Okay?
Yeah, we need
but because we need stricter filtering, but because these countries are extremely radical, that means there are people there that are desperate and in desperate need for help. Imagine if you're LGBT and live there. Imagine if you're an ex-Muslim and live there. Imagine if you're Jewish and live. Should we not open the door to them?
What about claiming asylum, though?
Oh yeah, fair point. I mean, no, because immigration has a legal term and also a general meaning. Okay, and if you're talking about immigration legally, then that's different from asylum. But immigration generally, outside of its legal terms, just refers to anyone moving from one place to another. Right? So I don't know which one you're talking about, because I thought you were talking about more generally, right?
I think he's being specific based on previous things he said before, because he has made exceptions for refugees and asylum seekers before.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with reducing immigration from more problematic countries, because you don't have the resources to be very specific about your filters. It's very hard to be very good with your filters, right? But again, as long as you leave the door open for the people in need from those countries, especially people, LGBT, ex-Muslims, Christians, Jews, and other oppressed minorities. Yeah.
Cool. So then another super chat from Sid Dave saying, what do you think of the BLM Chicago tweet supporting Hamas? Always thought BLM was a fascist organization with hatred for anything that comes from Europe or white people. Okay, so two things. Calling BLM a fascist organization is a little bit hyperbolic. And also I think
they are supporting fascism. If they're not, I mean, they're not fascists themselves, but they're in support of fascism.
Yes, well, let me finish my thought. Second thing I want to say is that BLM Chicago is technically distinct from the broader BLM organization. And I'm not trying to run cover for them, but it's just important for people to know that. Okay, but the point of what you're getting at is when I saw that, for those who are not familiar, BLM Chicago tweeted a tweet that said, "I stand with Palestine," or Free Palestine, which, okay, maybe you have that opinion. That can mean different things to different people. But they included an image of a silhouette of a paraglider in the post. And the little paraglider had a Palestinian flag coming off of his back. Yeah, Armin, thank you for pulling it up. Whoop. Not the New York Post.
Hold on. Give me a chance. Oh, here.
The problem is
there we go.
That this is supporting terrorism. When you have a paraglider, I stand with Palestine, and include the imagery of the paraglider. These are the people that came in and slaughtered over 260 people at that music festival. This is explicitly supporting terrorism. And you know what I thought when I saw this? I was like, you are exactly what I believed you to be. I have never been so, well, maybe not never, that's an absolute statement, but I felt so vindicated. I was like, see, this organization, but then beyond it, this lens of the world, this paradigm that it kind of represents, and I'm being a bit generalizing here, but people, I think, in general know what I'm referring to. These similar attitudes, lenses, ways of looking at the world, certain ways in which you look at the world and divide people essentially very simplistically into oppressed versus oppressor classes. You are exactly what I believed you to be. We were right about you and what you stand for this whole time. So when people, I want to be crystal clear to our audience about something. When you see stuff like this, this is not support for Palestinian civilians. This is explicitly supporting an Islamic Republic of Iran-backed proxy group against a democratic state. Let's be crystal clear about what this is. You are supporting Iran's proxy groups attacking a democratic state. And it cannot get more explicit than this. So again, when this conflict first popped off and I was really heated, I said, everyone keep your eyes wide open. And this is exactly what I'm referring to. This is exactly what I'm referring to. And it's reprehensible. I mean, the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, are doing the exact same stuff. Yeah, Miriam is saying that's exactly right, Suzanne. It's Jew hatred too. I know, and I've always known, because I've been surrounded by these types for years, how much they hated Jews. I was already like very familiar with that, but most people aren't. And so I was, they're saying the quiet part out loud, and it's nice that like other people get to finally see it for what it is now, because a lot of people wanted to pull the wool over their eyes. A lot of people wanted to pull the wool over their eyes, pretend it wasn't there. So yeah, that got me so heated.
I just quickly want to mention, this is why when we keep saying that, I care about the Palestinian people. I want Palestinian people to have Palestine as a country and have prosperous, secure, free lives. This, however, actually shows that when we say that people who use the Palestinian flag and say stand with Palestine, we suspect that what they actually mean is that we support terrorism. So it's such a disservice to the Palestinian people that the name of their country and their flag is now turning into a symbol of supporting terrorism. When the attacks happened on Israel, Before Israel got to respond, before the Israel's response on Gaza, a lot of people changed their profile pictures to Palestine's flag. What does that mean? The Palestinian flag at that moment does not mean support for the Palestinian people. The Palestinian flag is obviously a representative of support for Hamas's attack. And we were like, this is why a lot of people times we are against the use of the Palestinian flag. And people are like, why? You don't care for Palestinian people? Yes, we do. But it doesn't mean that. The Palestinian flag does not mean support for Palestinian people. And this, again, this shows that we are right. Because look, they're saying I stand with Palestine, and there's a Palestinian flag there. But look, they have the paragliders there. It's the Hamas. These are the paragliders who landed on that music festival and killed all those civilians. Look what the name Palestine and the Palestinian flag is representing here. So just keep that in mind when people are waving Palestinian flags and saying I stand with Palestine. What a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, what they're actually saying is that I support terrorism. I support Hamas. I support fascism, because Hamas is fascism. It's Islamic fascism.
Okay. So we got another super chat from Mike saying, do you think the current events will result in an increased number of apostasies among Muslims? I don't think we will see the same wave of apostasies. You think we will see the same wave of apostasies from this as we saw in 2015 with ISIS? I personally don't think so, because a lot of people have a personal affinity to the Palestinian cause that goes beyond, like, they're attached to it because of Islam and because it's Muslims. But I don't know, I feel like the way that it's inculcated into people, it goes much deeper than just about Islam. So a lot of people, I don't think we would see the exact same apostasy effect we saw in 2015. What do you think, Armin?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that. I'm just answering the question, because the question is not if it's the exact same wave. Obviously, it's not going to be the exact same wave. But the question is just an increased number of apostates. Yes, it will be, obviously it will be some increase. It's not going to be the same level as the response we saw with ISIS, but there will be some increase. Yeah.
Yeah.
There will be some. Yeah. Yeah.
So David the Goliath gave us a $10 super chat saying, if Indian Muslims can't live in peace with Indian Hindus, Lebanese Muslims can't live in peace with Lebanese Christians. You really think you can turn such Muslims into French and Germans? There's like Muslims living in France and Germany is not a new phenomenon. It's not like they've been showing up in France and Germany since the start of the Syrian war. Like, these countries have been interacting with each other for hundreds of years and integrating into society for hundreds of years. Like, Muslim Iranians had very influential intellectual impact on France.
Right.
So, I don't know. Go ahead.
But that's the question is just wrong as a whole, because you're saying French and Germans. French and Germans are French citizens and German citizens, and that's a legal term, right? You could have horrible ideas that are not in line with French ideals and German ideals and still be French, because you have French citizenship and German citizenship. What do you mean? You say you really think you can turn such Muslims into French and Germans? They are French and Germans. I mean, legally, they are French and Germans. They have French citizenship. They have German citizenship. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, trying to say they're not French and German then makes it much more difficult for us to address the problem, because the problem is that we have French and German citizens with horrible beliefs acting like they're not French and German. Yeah.
I think what this person is getting at is to become is assimilating into a French identity, not literally their nationality.
But that's the problem. If we don't use this, if we are not using language carefully, then we are calling people who are actually French, not French, because they don't have French ideals. That language is dangerous, because now you are challenging what it means to be a French or German, you're basically creating two-tier citizenship kind of mentality here, right? So you have
And it's
you have
actually
to be
positive reinforcement of self-segregating tendencies.
exactly. That's exactly because this segregation of Muslims who are in France saying that they're not French, Muslims who are citizens of France, you calling them not French, helps with the radicalization because you're segregating it, exactly what Macron is trying to undo. You're separating them from citizens who you consider real French, and that separation makes the radicalization more possible. You have to try to, if you give up on this, if you think like, well, it's not possible, and you don't try to find a way to make them part of society and feel French, feel German, you're not, that's giving up on that is not going to fix anything. It's only going to accelerate their radicalization process. There's no other way. If you saying this is not going to happen, then let's just surrender. Say hi to Sharia takeover of, I don't know, Europe. I'm not saying I'm not saying that will happen, okay? But with this attitude, that's all you have to do. With that attitude, that's all you have to do. I'm not saying that will happen because I have hope. I think liberalism will always succeed at some point if we try. Like, not that it will just succeed by itself. We have to try, right? But
I don't know the way you
with
put
this
it.
attitude, you have a defeat. This is a defeatist attitude. This is a defeatist. Oh, we can't do anything. Okay, well then just bend over and take it. I don't know.
Yeah. So got a super chat from Newman saying, "Good evening, good morning, evening, and night. Love you all." Well, hi Newman. Thank you. Love you too. Nasreen John gave people 5 AR memberships. Thank you. Erican gave us a super chat saying, "Does Susanna have any Discord community for Susannaists similar to the Armin agitators of Arminists or anything similar?" No, I do not have an established personality cult. And I don't know how I feel about creating one.
I think Erkin wants to be the first member. I think it seems
The
like
first
there's
member and
the
leader of my
yeah,
personality cult.
yes.
Given my
We could
education
make
about
calls.
cult psychology, that raises some red flags. But if you just want to do that for fun on your own time,
Oh, yeah, you could do that. By the way, we just said you just said Newman instead of Noman, and he's now upset. He's
oh god,
crying in the live chat.
I don't,
Okay,
I don't know.
Noman, Noman.
Um, Gasian American gave a super chat saying, "Do you think the phrase 'give me liberty' or 'give me death' is a dangerous phrase?"
No, not at all. Because it's not like this is not a prescription for everybody. This is the people who choose that, and we have liberty because of people who decided to risk their lives for liberty. So it's not dangerous. In fact, not having that is dangerous. The where we are today is because of people who decided to give their lives for liberty. So yes.
Sorry, seeing no man, excuse me, scream at me in the live chat is funny to me. Okay, so Sid Dave is kind of answering his what we were saying to him earlier. Thank you for another super chat. Saying don't allow family sponsorship, work permits for radical. Don't allow family sponsorship or work permits for radical Islamist countries. Only asylum for opponents of regimes, minorities, LGBT, ex-Muslims, etc.
I think it might be I'm okay with a country deciding that certain radical countries, the level of radicalism is so high that that country will not have any form of, like, I think this is a good compromise. It might be a good compromise if a country is like producing so much is contributing to so much radicalism to your country that you're like, you know what, this country and any other country basically is giving us so much. We're bringing in so much horrible, problematic, destructive viewpoints from this country to our country that we're just going to put a pause on that and only have asylums for certain groups of people. I think that could be fair. What do you think, Susie? I think that could be
what
fair.
about educational visas, student visas? Because
I mean, if you notice it,
my hesitance towards this is that promoting the exchange is actually how we help influence improvement.
but not if you, yeah, but you want your country to pay the price for trying to fix.
Well, exactly. But here's the thing: it's not actually anyone's burden to take that upon themselves, especially when it comes to the detriment of its citizens, and where it actually almost becomes a dereliction of duty. Obviously, I'm not pushing for that. I'm just talking about on a broader scale, right?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, but I think Sid, what Sid is saying is it could be considered fair if it's
I don't know. I think student visas could still be really important, though, especially because a lot of times that's actually the way that people leave their country. Like, most of my Iranian friends are not refugees. They came through their education, for example. So, and they're highly skilled.
And I think that radicalization should be based on the people, not the government. Because, for example, Iran has the greatest pool of liberal people with liberal mindsets, right? So I think, like, if any ban on countries that includes Iran as a country that should ban, that means, like, for example, the immigration ban that yeah, I am biased because I know Iran has a lot of liberals. Like, for example, Trump's immigration ban on Iran, for example, is stupid. That was idiotic. Yeah.
So Zaid is saying, guys, our lovely Susanna just nuked this video with the T word, meaning terrorism. So please make sure to like, comment, and share. That's true. We're talking about a lot of spicy stuff. So YouTube doesn't like that. So please help us pay homage to the algorithm gods. Gasian American gave us a $5 super chat. Thank you, Gasian, saying, do you think a Singaporean model of forced integration might help? I actually don't know that much about the Singaporean model. I just know that the government basically, like, is involved in literally dictating how many ethnicities live in what spaces to try to, like, fill quotas and make it all even across spaces. I would need to learn a lot more about that model. Of course, as an American, the idea of, like, the state being involved to that high of a degree raises red flags for me. But also, meanwhile, in my own country, we're highly self-segregated, and I think that causes a lot of problems as well. So I don't know enough about the model to give an answer to this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know as well. I have to go study it, but it sounds a bit fascistic based on what you're telling me, but I don't know. I have to go check it out.
Well, I mean, it's Singapore. So, so Sid Dave gave another super chat saying, what is the eventual goal of an Islamic society? Happiness, innovation does not seem to be. Facts. Just keep praying 5 times a day and wait for the Messiah. Well, it depends on what kind of Islamic society. If it's a reformist movement, most reformist movements are reforming to the origins of Islam, then the end result is to basically go back to the 7th century. And yeah, but it's hard. I mean, there is no one Islamic society, right?
I mean, even one Islamic society has many people in it. I don't even know how I think you should ask, what is the eventual goal of Islam? Okay, because then I could tell you. But Islamic society, a society has so many people with different goals. So I don't know how I would identify a goal of a society. I think that would be a collectivist mindset to come up with a
Um,
goal. But if you ask me for what the goals of Islam are instead of an Islamic, okay, so here I will fix your question for you. What is the eventual goal of Islam for an Islamic society? Is that, I think that's better, right? So, and then say happiness, innovation does not seem to be, yeah, nope, Islam. Just keep praying. So the goal of Islam for an Islamic society is the worship of Allah and the takeover of Islam, Islam taking over all over the world, right? And the the coming of Mahdi, both the Shias and Sunnis, the coming of Mahdi, and to make the whole world surrender to Allah. That would be the goal of Islam for Islamic society. But within an Islamic society itself, there are many different people, both Muslim and non-Muslims, and they have different goals. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, Gation American is saying that we missed a super chat by him, but I'm not finding anything in the live chat. So,
Just
Gation, if you could,
comment it. Just comment it,
yeah,
and without
please
super
tell us
chatting it.
again because I just scrolled through several times to find it and I couldn't. And Secular Sakai celebrating his membership for 18 months. Thank you for supporting AIR and saying next news coming up soon. I'm curious about what's next, which is a very polite way of saying that he would like to move, like us to move on. I apologize, guys. We just had so many super chats to address,
It's
but
okay. No, it's a
that's a
good
good problem
reason
to
to
have.
delay.
That's the best problem to have because you know what that
Yes,
means that
yes.
this show is continuing getting the support it needs to be stronger than it was before.
Yeah.
And as a we kind of have a preview because you highlighted this comment from Kali, and it's actually related to our next story. And Kali is saying, Armin, the Muslim world at the Muslim world do not condemn Hamas atrocities, but only want to condemn Israel after their counterattack and land grab for the past 75 years. How do you humanize their stand? And that's kind of related to where we're going to talk about in our next news. So,
Mm.
this is actually, we can clap for this. We had to cover some hard stuff.
Finally, we can clap. Oh
We're
my
moving
god.
into better news.
All right. Next news.
Next news. Arabs speak out against Hamas. Arab intellectuals and Saudi journalists are vocally condemning Hamas's large-scale attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, challenging conventional narratives within the Arab world. These voices argue that the attack serves the Islamic Republic of Iran's regional ambitions and undermines the Palestinian cause rather than advancing it. Critics warn that the attack not only hampers peace efforts, but also exacerbates the suffering of the Palestinian people. They draw parallels between the attack and past terror incidents like 9/11 and Hezbollah's action in 2006, questioning the world's tolerance for such organizations. The Egyptian born US based reformist author and researcher Hussein Abu Bakr Mansour states, quote, I'm not asking you to love Israel. If you are critical of Israel and believe there should be a Palestine, please continue to do so. What I'm asking for is courage to not pretend that the murder, the abuse of women, and the kidnappings we all witnessed are not an accurate representation of a morally catastrophic system that we all know is unfortunately all too common and in need of an honest conversations and serious attention. Stop deceiving yourselves and let's engage in a dialogue about how to bring about change. End quote. Far from being a rallying cry for Arab unity against Israel, the attack is seen as a catastrophic miscalculation that could result in the destruction of Gaza and loss of civilian life. These dissenting voices are arguing for a reevaluation of strategies, advocating for diplomacy and peaceful resistance as more effective paths forward. So, this is very interesting. So, I'll give a little background about why I wanted to cover this. So, basically, especially in the first week after the attack, I was incredibly disturbed. I was incredibly disturbed not only by the attack that we were seeing, by Hamas's glee in advertising, not hiding, openly advertising what they did. And I was incredibly disturbed by what seemed like a mass inability to talk frankly and just straight up condemn what happened. And, granted, we all have our own personal, algorithm feeds. Like, I don't know how much my dashboard on, Instagram or Twitter, reflects the world, obviously. And obviously there's a language barrier. I can't see what other people in other places of the world aren't saying, like, in English, you know what I'm saying? Or what they're saying, but not in English. I don't have access to that. And I was so deeply disturbed by, I guess, the silence, the equivocation, the rationalizing, the justifying. And I was literally just holding on with all of my heart to one of my friends who is from Palestinian background, who was so horrified by what happened and made no excuses for it. And then also some friends of mine who run a podcast called the Habibi Power Hour, one of whom is actually practicing Muslim, and then one of whom is an ex-Muslim, and how strongly they spoke out against what happened and made no excuses. And but I was like so disturbed. I'm like, it can't literally just be these three people that I know that are willing to talk frankly and honestly about what happened and not make excuses for it and all this stuff. And I was talking to Armin about how disturbed I am, because I said, Armin, it's very easy. It's very easy to find Jews across the world who condemn what the Israeli government does. It's actually kind of a fixture of the community. It's like a fixture of the Jewish community that they are some of the strongest, like, opposition to the Israeli government in general sometimes. It's very easy to find Jews that will speak out against what the Israeli government does. But I was so disturbed. I'm like, why is it so hard right now? Why does it seem so rare to find Arabs and Muslims who are willing to be honest about the brutality that we're seeing? And I was so disturbed by this that I actually intentionally went to go seek out people that were speaking against this. And the reason why is because this is me doing my own bias check. You know what I mean? When my algorithm is pouring me with nothing but examples of people equivocating and actually celebrating the barbarity that we saw on October 7th, if I'm not careful, that is going to deeply influence my opinion about an entire collective of people. And when that happens, it's a human fact that we'll start experiencing less sympathy, and then start, in less empathy, less sympathy. And then humans just have a tendency to start excusing brutality when we see people that we believe to be less human being treated poorly, right? And so I managed, as I was doing some digging, to find a couple of very interesting influencers from different regions who are mostly Arabs, who are speaking against this and also have their own methods of trying to promote peace in the region, right? And but much to my surprise, the number one source that I found of examples of Arabs and Muslims coming out and speaking strongly against this was actually all collected and organized and translated by Memory TV. And this is hilarious because Memory TV is accused of being Islamophobic and bigoted and racist and all this stuff. But I'm like, wow, when I'm doing work to make sure that I don't develop biases against people, when I'm explicitly looking out for critical information, you know, to feed my brain with other information to make sure I'm not building poor beliefs, it's so ironic to me that it's Memory TV that provided me with the most examples of this. Um, and so that's what I wanted to do today. Armin and I both agreed. Yeah, Zayd is saying we just love Memory TV, honestly. It's a national treasure. So um that Armin and I talked about this, and that's basically what we wanted to do today. Because I think, like we're saying, with a time like this, it's very easy to start building really dangerous biases against entire groups. And the fact of the matter is, we don't know everyone from these groups, and it's important to go and do the work of demonstrating to ourselves that not everyone thinks this way, right? And so I wanted to bring some of that to our audience because it's really important to highlight these things. And I have a few specific quotes that I wanted to read, Armin. But before I dig into that, do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just want to mention that it's not that we're denying the mass support for Hamas that we're seeing by many, many, many Muslims around the world right now. We're not denying that. We see that and we acknowledge that as a major problem. So, but it's important even with that not to generalize, right? I think some people bring examples like what we're showing here to deny the big problem that we have in the Muslim community about the major support that exists for terrorism, right? So that's one extreme. And then we have another extreme of people who think like, oh, if you're an Arab, you're basically a terrorist. Or if you're a Muslim, you're basically a Hamas sympathizer. And I think that's another extreme. So, and I think we're taking a good, we're analyzing this properly. The mass support for Hamas and terrorism exists, and it's a problem in the Muslim community and among many Arabs. However, there are many people who disagree with that. And that means that you can't generalize. That means that when you see an Arab or you see a Muslim, you cannot just assume that they're a Hamas sympathizer because these people do exist.
Yeah. So I wanted to read a few quotes that I pulled from these different articles. There were 3 different articles that Memory did, basically compiling a lot of these examples and translating them. So some of them come from Saudi intellectuals, some of them come from Arab influencers. There's a big variety. Here's one quote from quote, this clip, so this is talking about the imagery that came out on October 7th. This clip has distorted the image of the Palestinian cause. Calls of Allahu Akbar over the body of a woman after she was stripped and RAPE'd by criminal scoundrels is a shameful act that has nothing to do with liberating Palestine, manliness, or jihad. The question is, what will happen now? Israel will kill thousands of innocent Palestinians and will destroy infrastructure in the Gaza Strip. And then Hamas, its scoundrels and mercenaries, will cry, "Oh, Arabs, where are you? Saudi Arabia is betraying us. You are normalizing relations in Israel. We want support. We want money. We want and want." What do you think of that?
That's pretty strong. I don't know how to add to that.
Another reaction from someone was, this video with its shouts of Allahu Akbar will spread all over the world. This is the greatest gift we could give to the enemies of Islam and Muslims. Another person said, just as we are opposed to the bombing of Palestinian civilians by Israel, we must oppose the killing of hostages. And then another user said, quote, the only one benefiting from Hamas's crime is Iran. And that's
the Islamic Republic.
Yes,
Iran is not Iran is not benefiting from any of this. It's the Islamic Republic who's benefiting from this.
Yeah.
The Iranian people are suffering because of all of this. So just
And one person had this interesting quote that I thought was Really important. And it said, quote, "These events happened, were documented, and were publicized, but most of the Arab media did not show these Hamas videos or even the blurred versions of them. That was a mistake because if they had shown them, they would have enabled the viewers and readers to understand rationally, not to condone, Israel's unprecedented response and the rapid and effective Western support that it quickly managed to mobilize." And I thought that was an interesting thing to note as well. This idea that the atrocities are being hidden from the population, so that when the population then sees the very strong reaction that it garners, they're confused and they don't understand where such a strong response is coming from because they were not allowed, or the truth was hidden from them. And what I thought was really interesting was that quote that I gave when I was giving the summary text of the quote where the man was saying that he's not asking you to love Israel, but to just be honest about the morally catastrophic system that we all know is too common. I was very intrigued by that quote, and I went to go read the full post. And it turns out that this Egyptian reformist actually follows us on Twitter. And I started to look into his writings, and his writings look like fire. So I might come back to you guys after reading some of his work because I was immediately obsessed. But yeah, I just thought this is an important thing to cover.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. We got 2 super chats. Let's do that because we need to move on to the next news.
Okay. I can't remember what this person's name is. Is it
Hadebna Ad.
Ibn Ad. He said, "Make Atheist Republic great again, LOL." Excuse me? What does that mean? No. And
thank you.
Prashi gave us 20 Canadian dollar super chat. Wow, thank you. That's very generous. Scene, what do you think of Islamic Dawa orgs with a fixation on highlighting white female converts? They are used for marketing Islam, how these females reject Western lifestyle for Islam. White converts are seen as a prize by extremist Muslims. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have a fetish for white women. Obviously, they will. When a white woman turns Muslim, they are going to constantly use that as marketing, given how popular white women are among many Muslim men. And they constantly try to marry them as well. As soon as, if you're a white woman and you're struggling to find, no, I shouldn't say that. But if you convert to Islam, there will be Muslims lining up trying to marry you. And it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter how you look, as long as you're white and as long as you're a woman, you becoming a Muslim will mean Muslim men will be lining up in huge numbers trying to get you.
I've literally seen people perpetrate scams doing this on Twitter. Like, yes, someone will set up a fake account being a white woman, being like, "I just took the Shahada, like, please help."
Oh, yeah.
Brothers and sisters, like, I need money to buy hijabs or something. And then and it's all fake. And they just know that this is an easy way to get money because people are going to like just jump at the opportunity and highlight them so much. There's like multiple examples of people scamming using this.
It started with white women realizing how much money they could make off of this by saying that they're Muslim now, and a lot of, I'm Muslim, and now, here's what you do. If first it was Muslim white women saying, I'm a Muslim now, and I'm being discriminated against because I'm a Muslim, and now I can't like pay for stuff, and here's my GoFundMe. Easy way to make money. And then some people realize you don't even have to be a white woman. You could just have a picture of a white woman in a hijab and just set up a GoFundMe, and that's easy money. By the way, it also works on the other way around. I've noticed with girls, if you're Korean, okay, and look like K-pop boys,
What?
right? So yeah. So if you're a Korean boy, if you become Muslim women, young Muslim women will go crazy for you
Oh,
and work for. Yes. So white women converting to Islam and Korean boys converting to Islam, it works either way. So
it's the cheat
you
code.
didn't know that? That was a big thing. Young Korean boys converting to Islam. It was like their social media was exploding with Muslim girls. It was such a good way to get. Oh, you didn't see that? I should have sent that.
I mean,
to
I
you.
know about like this Dawood Kim guy, but I didn't know that there were examples besides him.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Japanese might work as well. If you're Japanese, it might work as well. Yeah. As long as you pass for K-pop looking.
Yeah, that look is popular with young women.
Yes.
Fascinating.
All right. So can we clap for the next news?
I don't know.
Oh no. Okay,
no one
never mind.
died. We need a clap. God damn it.
All right, we'll do a clap, but without enthusiasm. Okay, like you're like meh kind of clap. Okay. Next news. I don't know what else to do.
Next news. You won't believe how many people are behind bars for blasphemy in Pakistan. The Senate Standing Committee on Human Rights in Pakistan was recently informed that 179 individuals are currently detained on charges of blasphemy across the country, with 17 having already been sentenced. The data was provided by the National Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, or NHRC for short, which, in response to an inquiry led by Senator Walid Iqbal, who expressed concerns about, quote, the exploitation of blasphemy laws for settling personal scores. Oh, wow, some self-awareness. The committee is also considering the formation of a national coordination committee with the Ministry of Human Rights to establish standard operating procedures aimed at alleviating the suffering of minorities. The report comes amid ongoing scrutiny of Pakistan's blasphemy laws, which have been criticized for their misuse and disproportionate impact they have on minority communities. Here's the deal. The best safeguard against the abuse of minority communities in Pakistan is to repeal and eliminate, to do away with the blasphemy laws, the many different aspects of the penal code, and various things that were passed through parliament regarding blasphemy. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I don't even I can't even imagine what would happen if there was an actual push to repeal the blasphemy law in Pakistan.
The person who suggests that needs to, I don't know, needs its own military for security.
Immediately leave the country.
Yeah.
I
think the only way that I'm not suggesting this, but some people say that all these people who are pushing for blasphemy laws should be accused of blasphemy. That's the only way to get rid of blasphemy laws. You know what I mean? Like the people behind all these blasphemy, accusing other people of blasphemy. If you accuse somebody of blasphemy in Pakistan, then you should be worried about now other people accusing you of blasphemy.
Well, that's literally happened before.
Yeah, I know.
We covered the story of that cleric not too long ago who was literally responsible for inciting a lot of dangerous rhetoric against Governor Salman Taseer, which led to his assassination. And he recently got accused of blasphemy and is facing prosecution. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like I don't think that's actually a viable tactic.
No, not this one. This is not a way to solve this.
Oh yeah, believe it or not, the Spider-Man pointing it at himself is I don't think it's a viable tactic.
No? Okay. I thought
Yeah.
this will solve Pakistan's problem. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I
Just
don't think it would. That's just gonna like what lead to mass lynchings in the streets. Like there was that cleric
well, I
that
mean,
was lynched in the street, like a cleric, like less than a year ago.
mm.
I don't want to see that for Pakistani society.
Well, do you have any solutions right now for this? I mean, at least I'm
No.
brainstorming. At least I'm offering something. I don't know. You can not take it if you don't like it. But people have some solutions about via super chat if you want to. Sid is
Okay. So oops. Gajan gave us a super chat. Thank you, Gajan. Saying, do you think give me liberty or give me deletion is a dangerous radical phrase? It was necessary for its time, or was it necessary for its time, or was it just as bad? Does having nukes factor into this calculus? So I don't
think that's what
the
people. I don't
nukes
think that's.
necessarily factor into this
I don't
calculus
think.
because it's about individual liberties against government state coercion, right? And as far as
Yeah,
I'm aware, there are not individuals that are in possession of nukes. Um,
yeah. I think of people in Iran who are coming into the streets and fighting for liberty. That's what I think of, and they're willing to put their lives at risk for that. That's what comes to my mind, which is today and relevant. Yeah.
I mean, I do see where your concern is about it being dangerous, and I think it based on all my studying that I've done into like thought reform and stuff like that, ideals that or not ideals, but ideologies that push you towards death are something that is needs to be examined like very very closely, right? So I think the issue with give me liberty or give me death is that it's supposed to kind of speak to an ideal and also acknowledge the people who do literally bleed and die for the liberties that we have, if you do have them, really, Gaysian American, I'm an American, we're as Americans, we have them, or we're supposed to. But I can see how that phrase can be really reduced and push people towards something dangerous. So I see where the concern is coming from. Sid Dave gave us a 20 Canadian dollar super chat. Wow, thank you, Sid. Saying best way to expose Islam is to make a movie on Muhammad. Anonymous directors, voice actors for the Muhammad animated series, which shows his life. The way he led his life is an embarrassment, marrying a daughter-in-law, taking slaves, etc. Isn't that basically what was that really infamous movie that was put
That
on
was not.
YouTube?
That was crap. No, that was crap. That was
I
not
mean, it
based on.
was
That was
crap,
just a
but wasn't that kind of what they were going for? What was the name of that? And people
No.
accused that movie of causing what happened in Libya with the diplomatic takeover, but then a lot of people are like, no, that wasn't what was responsible. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I've seen the movie. It's just basically not anything about Muhammad's life. Just some guy claiming to be Muhammad and doing some weird stuff. But to answer said, don't worry. With AI, this will soon be possible. We will all be able to make our own personal movies. I'm pretty sure in our lifetime, and we will make some of these movies as well. So don't worry, it will happen.
I don't know if that is the best way to expose Islam, though. Personally,
why not? Like soon people will be able to make movies. So many people. anybody with a computer will be able to make movies. It would be an easy way to demonstrate ideas, instead of just like talking about things. We could just make movies and talk about it that way. I don't know. We could soon, Sid, we will have movies. Like, I will personally make a movie about Muhammad, and we will be in the movie. Okay, we will be side characters in the movie. That's the future. Okay, we will, all of us here in the live chat, instead of like you guys being, me and Susanna being on like in a 2D screen and you guys being in the live chat. Okay, we will all take part in a movie that me and Susanna maybe put together, and you guys in the live chat, all of us will be side characters in that movie, and we will just walking around like characters, right? And we will see Muhammad, and we will be in the army, for example, of one of the battles. That's how future interaction will be. We will be on the army that is fighting Muhammad. Maybe we could change history. Maybe some of the battles that Muhammad won, we could change it so that we win, the other side wins. Yeah.
Asian American gave us a super chat saying, Mufti Armin, how many investments does the People's Republic of China need to give before other Muslim nations start allowing female Communist Party of China approved ahund, like mullahs, clerics, Islamic leaders? So how much investment does China need to push into countries until they start allowing female mullahs?
Okay, China needs to worry about its own economy right now. I don't think China is in a position right now to make a lot of investments. Yeah, so I think China has bigger problems than female mullahs right now. So I don't know how much money that will take, but it probably takes more money than China has at the moment. The Chinese government has at the moment. Right.
And Sid Dave, he has his own creative solution to blasphemy problems, saying the best way to get rid of blasphemy is to hack into the government-run TV and broadcast blasphemous images of Muhammad to the entire country. The government gets accused of blasphemy then. I feel like the whole country would just like self-immolate.
I think that, yeah, I think that will start a mass execution, and I think that the next day you would have bloodbath in Pakistan. So I don't know if that's a good idea.
Sorky was saying, wait, why was I banned? You weren't banned.
You weren't banned? What are you talking about? Huh. You're here. You're commenting.
And you wanted to highlight this? Mariam is saying, is Susanna single? I'm not gay, but I want to marry her. No, I'm not single. But I mean, as much as I would also like to marry you, Mariam, I would kind of like to have a sex life with my partner. And if you're not gay, that's going to make that a little bit difficult. So I'm going to have to politely decline your proposal until you feel an attraction towards women.
I don't know. I think Mariam, I think if you want to really marry Susanna, I think you're gay. I think you're gay.
She's dying. Yeah, just a little gay. Why are you gay?
Just a little gay. Just a little gay. It's okay. We accept here.
Yeah, and Sid is saying with AI, thank you for another super chat, Sid. We are going to see AI manufactured blasphemy. We already do.
Yes. Yeah,
you just have to be creative about how you produce it.
Guys, we will have live streams in the future where I will personally feed the Quran into an AI, and we'll ask the AI to make a character that is Allah based on, so like, make Allah based on the Quran, based on the content of the Quran and the personality Allah has. Create me Allah. And we will have live streams where we will interview Allah. We will have Allah here and talk. And because I think the Quran is enough information for you to be able to understand the personality and the opinions of Allah and create that character. And we will have live streams where I will interview Allah. And then, wait, hold on. You always distract people when I'm trying to make a very serious point. Okay. Also, we will also create Muhammad based on hadith. I will take Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, feed it to AI, and I will create Muhammad, and we will have live streams where we interview Muhammad. So looking for that. And also we got another super chat from Hadab Naad. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you. Oh, we also got another super chat. Okay.
Miriam had the funniest reaction. She's like, hey, I am attracted to women. Women are way prettier than men. And then, so people are going, oh, so very gay.
Okay. Very gay, yeah.
You are gay.
Yeah, you are gay.
And Miriam is saying, I think you're right, Armin. Thank you for your acceptance. And then Zane freaking killing me over here said, they call Susanna the skillet because she keeps flipping straight women. Oh my god, Miriam. Well, I mean, hey, like, you know, this I'm always hashtag team bisexuals. Thank you for joining team bisexuals. Yeah, we yeah.
Do you two live close? Because it seems like you might like need to call each other or something.
I mean, technically, kind of, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I know where Miriam lives.
Okay. All right, we got 2 more super chats.
Mose gave us $2. Thank you, Mose. Saying, have you seen the Hamas leader's son interview on Fox? I haven't seen the interview in full. I saw that he gave the interview. Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I should look into. Thank you for telling us that. I should go look into that.
Yeah, and Sid is, thank you for another super chat, Sid, saying, one thing I found funny about Islam is they claim Abraham traveled to Mecca traveled to Mecca to start the Hajj, but then none of the subsequent prophets like Jesus, Noah, David ever bothered visiting Mecca. Yeah. Well, I mean, no, is there sons of Isaac versus Ishmael? Like, David and Noah are all descendants of Isaac.
No, the Bible, the story of Ishmael in the Bible was left Hagar and Ishmael, Sarah, Abraham's sister wife, told, get rid of these two, and Abraham like, okay. So Hagar was the sex slave of Abraham, and Ishmael was the son, and Abraham got rid of them, and they lost their way all the way to Saudi Arabia, which is like today's Saudi Arabia, well, Hijaz back then, like today's Makkah, which is just like, they were just like walking, and they just happened to walk all the way to Mecca, which is a nonsensical story. I mean, so the Islam's narrative took the story from Christianity, where Christianity left it off, and just brought Hagar and Ishmael all the way to Mecca. And Abraham was just like, one day, like, I have to go check them out, as if they're like right next door or something. Or like, okay, I'm gonna go check up on. Yeah, I'm just gonna go check up on my son, like as if that was possible to just like, he's around like in the Middle East, northern Saudi, like around Syria and Egypt and around there, and he just did a school project with his son Ishmael, built a cube. I'm like, hey son, I haven't seen you for years. I was just walking by. I just came all the way walking to Mecca. Let's build a cube. And Ishmael, oh dad, thank you. I haven't seen you since you kicked out me and my mom out and abandoned us. Glad that you finally showed up. Let's build a cube. And I'm like, okay. And then you're like, bye, son. I'm going to go back to my previous adventures based on the Jewish and Christian Bible. I'm going to go pick up that story where I left that off. But I just came here to do this with you, and now I'm back. Like, yeah, sure. Very, very believable story. Yeah. But yeah, let's go.
Okay, now we have people fighting back and forth in the chat, in the super chat, saying, so Dave is saying, women are much more beautiful and desirable than men. And I'm inclined to agree. I think that if you're walking down the street, on average, there are proportionally more attractive women than there are attractive men. And maybe this is me just as going throughout the world as a bisexual, but on a day-to-day basis, do I see from with each sex who is more likely to make me go, ooh, wow, you're quite good looking? I get that way more often with women than with men. It's not even a competition. But then Asian American is coming through with another super chat saying, Sid, I disagree.
Yeah.
And
I
Sid
I
is
think,
saying,
hold on,
uh-huh.
let me actually put, I think it's not a fair comparison. In a world where it was socially acceptable for men to wear makeup and do all the things that women do, okay, I think then it would have been a more fair competition. Because if tomorrow all the women came out without their makeup, okay, I think you will see that it's more balanced between men and women.
I don't know if I completely agree because I don't find that expression of masculinity attractive at all. So if men were like, oh, well, if we all started doing that, then it would be balanced. I'm like, no, I'd find you more unattractive. But that's me.
No. You find it more unattractive because it's socially something that you find. Like in a world that was acceptable, you would be trained mentally to find that attractive. Probably.
Not necessarily, but I understand your point. Because I like a man's man.
Yeah, but that would be in a world that was normalized. That would be a man's man. Like, that would be considered manly if that was the thing that men did.
Okay. Well, Sid, Asian American then came in with the super chat saying, Sid, I disagree. And then Sid also came forward with another super chat saying, by the way, I am straight and 100% in love with Susanna. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, Sid. And then Gajan retorted back with another super chat saying, I'm in love with Mufti Armin. And then Sid also came back with another super chat saying Armin is a handsome ladies' man as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Fascinating little back and forth there. Okay, let's move to the next story.
Okay. Wait, let me unhighlight this one. All right, can we clap for the next news?
Let's just clap because no one died, okay?
All right. Next news.
India's top court rejects same-sex marriage. In a significant yet divisive ruling, India's Supreme Court chose not to legalize same-sex marriage, leaving the issue to Parliament's discretion. Chief Justice Dhananjaya Yeshwant Chandrachud, that's difficult, noted, quote, the exercise of the powers of judicial review must steer clear of matters, particularly those impinging on policy, which fall into the legislative domain. While the court's decision allowing LGBT individuals to have, while the court's decision allows LGBT individuals to have relationships without legal penalties, it stops short of granting them legal recognition, such as inheritance, succession, and hospital visitation rights. Amidst a backdrop of social conservatism, the ruling has ignited debates and left many questioning the future of LGBT rights in India. However, a silver lining exists in the court as the court supported a government initiative to consider extending certain rights to same-sex couples. So this on our channel, we've actually been following the status of the fight for marriage equality in India for a very long time. And there's been many delays, and it's been going back and forth and blah, blah, blah. And finally, the Supreme Court came forward with this ruling. And basically, they decided that this is not a matter that they should decide in the court. They thought this is a matter that should be decided in the legislative field, meaning through Parliament, through the democratic process, so to speak. And I would love to hear feedback from our audience in India, what they think about this. Because most people, or most of the analysis that I've read, basically just cites people saying, oh, well, this should go through the legislative process as part of the influence of conservatisms, and particularly Hindu nationalists, influencing the court. And it was really funny to me because a lot of BJP supporters say that the BJP is like very LGBT friendly and all this stuff and actually pushes for LGBT rights. But in the article, there was someone who was BJP affiliated. I can't remember exactly their position, basically very loudly being like, oh yeah, this goes against the Indian construction of family being a man, woman, and child. So I'm like, well, which is it? Which is it? A lot of these BJP supporters like try to have it both ways. Which is it? And one thing that I thought was interesting was, I need to find the exact quote. So this is definitely a setback in many ways. We didn't achieve, obviously, the result that people are looking for. However, I need to find exactly what it was, but there was some progress in the sense that there were certain things that the court did guarantee to LGBT people and couples. So it wasn't the overwhelming victory that we would have wanted, but there is some progress that was made. Yeah, for example, one justice said that the state should provide some legal protections to same-sex couples, arguing that denying them, quote, benefits and services granted to heterosexual couples violates their fundamental rights. Choosing a life partner is an integral part of choosing one's course of life, he said. Some may regard this as the most important decision in their life. This right goes to the root of the right to life and liberty under Article 21 of India's constitution. The justices also stated that the government should take steps to ensure that LGBT people do not face discrimination, including establishing hotlines and safe houses for those who are vulnerable and in need of medical procedures that aim to change gender identity or sexual orientation. So referring to like conversion therapies. So it is good to see the courts take a strong stance and understanding of that. Armin, do you have any initial reactions to this?
I just want to read this. Hex is saying, I'm from India and I think it's a travesty. This wouldn't be in court if it could have been solved through legislative. Okay. And if people were in India, I want to see more people from India explaining to us what they, especially LGBT people from India, explaining to us what they think about this in the live chat.
Yeah, a lot of some lawyers and pundits are saying that the court has failed its duty to uphold the constitutional rights of LGBT people in India. And this is the problem. And I think that person you just highlighted is right, that if this is to be solved through the legislature, it's going to be a long time before we see that progress. At the same time, and this is, I'm fully aware that this is an American mindset, and this is just purely coming from the experience informed to me by my own country, but we've seen the consequences of some of these decisions and rights that we now cherish being afforded to us by the Supreme Court and not through legislation, because then they can just be ripped away from us. For example, Roe v. Wade. It was easy to destroy that because the Democrats failed. They got lazy and failed to do enough to push it through Congress. Right? So part of me is like, and again, I don't, the Indian legal system is complicated. So I know that there's probably a lot that I'm not aware of. But given that recent event, part of me is like, well, there might actually be way stronger protections for this if this was to occur through the legislature. But I could be completely wrong, and I'm willing to admit that. It's just a thought I had.
Homo sapien is saying, India isn't against gay couples being together. This is to do with marriage, but it's interesting how many news channels make it appear otherwise. Well, I mean, the news channels are saying marriage, and it's important for people to be able to get married because marriage gives you a lot of legal rights that is available to straight couples that is now not available to gay couples. So, I mean, if that right all of that if that option is available to straight couples, it should be available to gay couples as well. So I don't
Oh,
know.
100%. I mean, because this
Yeah.
is like rights of kinship, rights of
Yeah.
in the situation of medical emergency. This is
Yeah.
rights in the case of inheritance.
Hmm.
I mean, these are very, very important issues. Pension,
Yeah.
spousal benefits. I mean, it really extends throughout society.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miriam, the
Mariam's
lawyer, is saying marriage gives you thousands of legal rights. Exactly.
There you go. We have a lawyer in the house. Okay, and Homo sapien is saying, I agree. It is important to allow marriage. I'm just saying channels like Al Jazeera's are appealing to its homophobic audience. To
Al
its
Jazeera
homophobic
English is
audience.
very different. Have you seen what AJ Plus is like? AJ Plus is like the most insane progressive LGBT thing ever. It's not yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Al Jazeera English is not like Al Jazeera Arabic. I mean, it's still biased, but not as biased. Yeah. Okay, Brother Sid is in the live chat. I just wanted to show you guys how important it is to defend LGBT people, because Brother Sid is showing us how much homophobia and disgusting views exist. Brother Sid is saying, I'm not Indian, but I think you all are psychopaths for endorsing such a disgusting, dangerous lifestyle. Well, I thank you, Brother Sid, for showing us how important it is for us to come together and protect gay people and other LGBT members from hateful people like you, from discussing viewpoints like yours.
Here's the thing. People don't understand that some people defend LGBT rights because they're LGBT. But as liberals, this is not defending LGBT rights for the sake of them being LGBT. It's about the defense of the individual against the tyranny of the majority. It goes back to a much bigger principle. And you clearly have a very tyrannical worldview.
Right.
And individuals do not deserve to have that dictated upon them because of your religious beliefs. We should live in a secular state. And in a secular state, that has no business dictating the legal rights of any random individual. Miriam is saying, right, Susanna, exactly. Thank you, wifey. She gets me.
Wifey.
I'm just gonna call Miriam Zaneman.
All right, we have 2 super chats. Do you want to read this?
Oh, Gage American is saying #free love. Stop this blasphemy to Kamadev. Quick Google, what is Kamadev? Kamadev. This has got to be some sort of Devi. Kamadev, also known as is the Hindu god of erotic love, desire, and pleasure. Ooh.
No.
Ooh, you're right.
We need to make
this is blasphemy to Kamadev. And also, I don't know how I didn't know about this god, and this is going to be the inspiration for some blasphemous art. I already see it.
Yeah, me too. Oh, it rides a bird. It rides a bird?
Like a little green parakeet.
That is such a weird mount to have, but I like it.
The god of divine love.
And it rides it's a green parrot? Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this, is cooler. Okay.
I like him.
Weird flex, but okay.
And he's got
all right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Newman is saying, I agree with Susanna, but also I like cat boys. I'm not sure how one follows the other. But cool.
No, I think about girls being prettier than boys and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, well that's the kind of boys you're attracted to. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. More power to you. Femboys deserve love too. Asian American gave another super chat saying the entity Ila changes their gender depending on the phase of the moon. Wow. That's quite intense.
So guys, gender changing genders, is that gender bending? Can we call that gender bending?
Hell yeah.
Gender. Okay, so this has been historically, like, we have ancient stories about this. People act like people changing their genders and stuff is a new thing, but we have in so many mythologies, and it seemed like people were constantly, this was part of culture all the time. Like, people
Oh,
must have done
yeah.
it.
I mean, how many
Yeah.
Shakespearean stories are literally about gender bending?
Yes, yes. I
Gender
mean,
bending is
Zeus.
one of the
I
most
mean,
popular categories of manga. Like,
I mean, the symbol of masculinity in Greek mythology, which is Zeus. Okay, Zeus and Hercules. Zeus wore women clothing at one point to trick his dad. Okay, and Hercules wore women clothing because his wife wanted him to do that, because his wife liked that. So this is like, so don't think like this is just a new progressive thing that is happening right now. The symbols of masculinity in history were also gender bending at some point in their life. Yeah.
and Asian
Yeah,
American
people
is
saying that's cross. People saying that's cross dressing. I know. Okay, I'm not. I know I'm not using my terms precisely, but back then, it wasn't. The lines between these things were kind of gray. It's not like as well defined as right now. What
cross-dressing is a form of gender bending.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Asian American also gave another super chat saying that Kamadev strings a sugarcane bow with bees. So his arrow is like sugarcane with bees. Yo. I mean, that's way better than Cupid's love arrows. Think about it. That sticky trap. Ooh.
We need to have a scene between Kamadev and Cupid. How about that? I mean, Cupid is an adult, by the way, guys. Guys, Cupid is not the one that they show you as a baby, okay? I'm not talking about that. Cupid in the stories is an adult man, okay? But we could mix them
Cupid
together.
does become an adult man.
Yes, but most of the stories with the arrow. Yes, no, most of the stories with Cupid in ancient in Greek mythology is him with an adult, like he's an adult man with a bow and arrow. Like, I don't know what that is, something else they're selling as Cupid.
Those are cherubs, yeah.
Yes, yeah. All right. Let's clap for the next news.
Yes.
All right. Next news.
Now we get to move into the fun part of the show where we just talk about the rise of non-religiosity around the world. Guys, it's all easy cruising from here on out. It's easy cruising. Okay. So, the rise of the non-religious in the Pope's homeland. In Argentina and its neighbor Uruguay, there is a significant rise of religious disaffiliation, with a particular increase among those identifying as atheists or secular activists. In Argentina, the percentage of people who don't identify with any religion has doubled within the past 15 years. Similarly, Uruguay stands out in Latin America with more than half of its 3.3 million people identifying as religiously unaffiliated. Half of Uruguay is religiously unaffiliated. Lynn Powell Rafeta, part of the Argentine Coalition for a Secular State, has been at the forefront of an apostasy movement within Argentina, which involves formally quitting the Catholic Church. This trend is not just a rejection of religious doctrine, but also a response to public debates on sexual and reproductive rights. As traditional religious institutions lose influence due to scandals and social issues, secular activists in both countries are gaining ground, advocating for a society where spirituality is a matter of personal choice rather than an institutional dictate. So this is part of that big portfolio of stories examining the rise of the nuns around the world. And I thought it was really interesting that they were examining the rise of the non-religious in South America. A lot of this article was dedicated to kind of the diffuse spiritual practices that a lot of quote unquote nuns engage in. Because for those who are not familiar, nuns refer to when taking a survey and ask for your religious belief, instead of marking off a category like Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, you say none. But nuns are actually, it's like an umbrella category, right? There's just like diffuse non-religious, and then there's self-identified atheists and self-identified agnostics. In America, it's split pretty much half between like the diffuse non-religious people and then the atheists and agnostics. So a lot of these nuns actually are spiritual in their own way, but they don't like organized religion, versus obviously the atheists and agnostics take a more firm stance. But I thought it was really interesting to see such a huge explosion happening in Argentina. And it feels very predictable, as we've seen in many countries, that there is a strong reaction to the corruption and moral bankruptcy of the Catholic Church.
What would you do if you were looking at this from a business perspective, as the Catholic Church? How would you address this? How would you try to turn the tide? I would focus on Africa if I was me, if I was the church.
That's what they're already doing. They're already focusing on Latin America and Africa already.
But Latin America, I thought they're doing better in Latin America. You're saying they're doing bad also in Latin America. That means like that would make me want to
specifically
really focus.
Argentina and Uruguay specifically, but Latin and South America is much larger as a whole. And it's a little bit difficult because the Anglican Church, the Catholic Church are dealing with the situation where they're becoming increasingly unpopular in quote unquote Western countries. Their people are not engaging with the church at all. So they're trying to kind of liberalize as much as possible to try to hold and keep up with public opinion in these countries. But meanwhile, in the other countries, the way that they get their strength is by doubling down into traditionalism. But then people there also react poorly to that as well. It's very difficult.
If I was a business consultant for the Catholic Church, right, I would look at them as the business model as they're a real estate company / an event management company. Okay. So because they have all these churches, buildings, they own them, and they don't own them. It's like a franchise business, right? So it's like McDonald's. They have all these McDonald's everywhere. So these buildings, what to do with them? What I think one of the reasons why, because there's a lot of competing, people could spend their time on so many things, and they are spending less time in churches, and that's basically their business model. So how could I get people back in churches? Well, the main problem is with the churches is that the sermon part is just way too long and it's boring, and people's attention spans are very short, and they have TikTok and Facebook and live streams and all these other things. People have better things to do just to keep themselves engaged, and your sermons are killing it. Killing it not in a good way. They're destroying your business model, because who wants to go and listen to a sermon? So what I would do if I was a business consultant, I would cut the sermons to 3 minutes, and the rest of it has to turn into like a party, like event. Like, you have these buildings, you have events, people come there. What should I do for them to come? Don't have an old man talking to people about the Bible, right? Turn it into festive events. Make them dance and celebrate. I don't know, decorate things, do something with make people do
Habibi, what you do not understand is that's Protestant stuff.
Oh, okay.
No, honey. No. See, this is how Protestants act. Protestants can go do all that stuff. Protestants, they can have their mega churches. They can have their absolutely fire gospel singers. Because let's be honest, like a black gospel choir, I don't care if you're not religious at all. That will lift you off your feet. Okay. So
Well, what would you do?
Th-
You
This
have
is
knowledge over.
like
Yeah.
what separates Catholics is like their gravitas, and they
Right.
really hold on to that, and they hold like a superiority because of that. Like I don't know if people understand that. Like all that celebration stuff, like that is just not seen and felt as Catholic. Maybe other people like know what I'm talking about. I'm having a hard time expressing it.
Okay, we'll give them something elegant then to do. How about how the Pope, not the Pope, all these priests comes and they're wearing like really special clothes and they have this little play things, toys that they play with, metal things and stuff that has smoke comes out of it and they pour something. It seems like very special, right? And we're like, oh, this is fancy. I like it. It looks very elegant and fancy. Okay. Well, give everybody something like that. Like everybody has to have something in front of them and they all have to be able to you have to give everybody robes, not just the priest. Okay. So how about that? Everybody gets to wear a robe. Make it Hogwarts like. Yeah. Make it Hogwarts like. Right. So everybody gets to wear robes and everybody make it like act like this is your Universal Studios and everybody is pretending to be a wizard. Right. So instead of a wand, give them something like a cross, some pretty thing like a cross, and everybody gets to wear a robe and everybody gets a cross and they have to do something with it. Everybody has their own project at their table where they're sitting. It's not just praying.
Okay, well,
Okay,
that's a
something like that.
problem because a key fixture of the Catholic Church is the priest's like authority over its members. So if we're all wearing
Well,
special
then go
robes,
bankrupt. You know what? Just go bankrupt. I'm trying to go bankrupt. Okay, I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm trying my best.
Imran is saying so Catholics are like Christian Shias, exactly, which is why I have always felt a special affinity for the Shias, and this is why I am a secret Shia. Okay. Because it's about crying and hurting yourself. Miriam, who is a Christian, is saying Catholics who take their faith seriously look down on us Protestants for being half-assed Christians. Basically, yeah. Like
that's because you are. That's because you are half-assed.
In America, a lot of the evangelical movement is kind of seen as like the McDonald's of Christianity. Cajun American is saying, how do Catholics feel about Dia de los Muertos? So obviously, a lot of people who celebrate Dia de los Muertos like are self-professed Catholics. I guess you would mean like, what does a Catholic Church feel about Dia de los Muertos? I don't actually know. I don't know what official proclamations they've made about it. I know, for example, the church takes a very strong official stance against many forms of folk Catholicism, as it's known. And one of them, one form of folk Catholicism would be like the crucifixions that you see people do, or also Santa Muerte. And they take a strong stance against that, but I can't speak to Dia de los Muertos specifically. Asian American is saying Saint trading card game. Yes, this is what I'm talking about. Remember last week when we talked about how Japanese shrines are staying alive by people becoming stamp collectors, where they get the pretty calligraphy stamps at the shrines? They need to do
yes. That's what I was saying. You're right. That's a good idea. Okay, I have a better idea. My last idea. Okay, this one I think will work. I know you kind of dismiss all my other ideas. Okay, but this is a central part of the Catholic Church experience, and I think focusing on that will help. Okay, the bread, okay, that you're supposed to eat, make the body of Jesus from bread. Okay, so when you go, you have the body of Jesus dead, but it made out of bread, and you have to go eat the bread as if you are taking actually body parts of Jesus's body. So make a Jesus-like figure out of bread, because you're supposed to eat, and also put the wine like in the bread in a way that when you get the bread out, the wine will come out as if.
How is that going to attract Catholics? How is that going to attract Catholics? That doesn't. Catholics don't see this as human sacrifice.
No, they say it's the literal body of Christ, right? So make Jesus out of bread. Make a Jesus figure out of bread. And when you're eating the bread, it really feels like you're eating Jesus. No? It would be a Halloween scene. You could all act like zombies. You could make zombie noises as well. And you were like,
Okay, my
no,
Catholic is
no,
jumping out because like you just
no.
have a fundamental, you just don't understand like the relationship to the Eucharist. It's so reverent. Like I can't even express it and my brain is exploding. That's fundamentally not any I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't know
I
how to
think it was.
describe to people that didn't grow up in the Catholic Church like exactly how the Eucharist is treated. It's yeah, it's beyond. Um, this is a random fun fact. But this article taught me about how Uruguay apparently has an extremely strong secular history. Um, Actually, honestly, like some of the things that they do seem stronger than America. And in fact, Uruguay had an openly atheist president.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Holy crap. Really?
Yeah, he won a Nobel Peace Prize.
Wow. I did not know that. Okay. That's impressive. Also,
And
this is the
so
best
it's
idea
to
so
the
far.
point that they were all saying that like priests basically have like no power in Uruguay.
Oh, fantastic. I love that country now for some reason. By the way, this is the best idea.
The Asian
Yeah, I
American
think so.
is saying wine shots off of Christ's belly.
That is great. I love that. Genius. Genius.
You know, I've engaged in a lot of blasphemy in my life, but even this is too far for me.
Mm. All right. Let's move on to the next news. Can we clap? Yes, we can.
Yes.
Is it the Italy one?
Yes.
Okay. Next news.
Next news, are Italians losing their religion? In Italy, a country seen as the cradle of Catholicism, a disconnect is growing between religious identity and practice. According to the latest Pew Research Center survey, 78% of Italians profess to be Catholic, but the Italian Statistics Agency, ISTAT for short, paints a different picture. Only 19% attend services at least weekly, while 31% never attend at all. Adding another layer, 15% of Italians say they are religiously unaffiliated, according to the Pew Research Center. Reverend Giovanni Mandozzi describes the situation as scary and stated that the explanations that people give for their lack of attendance as, I don't have time, I don't feel like it. There isn't a real reason, he says. This decline in religious engagement, exacerbated by the pandemic, is part of a broader European trend, especially among the younger generation. Some Italians are even taking the drastic step of requesting Bazzati. I don't know how to pronounce this in Italian. Or they're requesting debaptism, effectively asking to be removed from parish baptism records. While cultural aspects of Catholicism, like weddings and funerals, still hold sway, the overall decline in religious practice poses a significant challenge for the future of organized religion in Europe. So, yeah, this is hitting Italy too.
Yeah.
And
When can we
go ahead.
invade the Vatican? When you surround? No. No.
That's not how I was expecting that sentence to end. No, what you were saying in the last segment about how long the sermon takes. One, a reverend, a priest that is profiled in this article, literally says that he's trying to get people to come to mass. Literally saying like sermon only takes 40 minutes. That's enough time to put sauce on the stove and not have it burn. Which is like such an Italian measurement of time. Like, can I be cooking the sauce? But that is actually exactly
that
what
should
you
be a
were
Mitch.
speaking to, is people don't, they're like, I don't want to spend my time doing this.
Mm, I see. Um, I think this is great. I think the future is beautiful. The future is great. I think if we keep going like this, I just hope we could see similar number like this in Islamic countries. Like we're kind of seeing like in Iran. But I know there's a lot of problems right now in the world, and a lot of them it seems to be caused by religion, right? But if the demographics keep changing like this, maybe next 50 years a lot of these problems are going to go away if we keep making the same level of progress in all countries. I mean, we're seeing
Mhm.
such progress in Islamic countries, in Christian countries. So, in we're not seeing that in Israel, unfortunately. That's going the other direction, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, a
But
lot of
also, by the way, just when I say in Islamic countries, I know the number of Muslims are increasing, but my guess is that as we go forward, numbers of Muslims who take Islam seriously is going to be reduced. So they're just going to increase in number, but they're not going to increase in how serious they are about their religion. Like the it's not just the numbers that count. There's
Mhm.
going to be there's just going to be Muslims in name only. So I hope we see similar progress in among Muslims as well.
Mhm.
You know.
One thing Numan is saying, Noman, crap, is saying, don't listen to him. The sauce burns in 40 minutes. I'm speaking from experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a rise in a lot of people participating in kind of like diffuse spiritual practice. Um, a lot of like new age stuff. And I think, honestly, a lot of political like idealism or ideologies are going to take the place of religion.
Mm. Oh my God, your last news is very interesting. I can't wait to get to that
Yeah.
one. I might become religious. This is the first time I'm considering giving religion a chance based on this last news. So, guys,
Well, that's
make sure you
fascinating.
stay
I
into
never
that.
realized you had an interest in this thing in particular.
Oh yeah, ever since we went to Amsterdam, I've become interested. I'm looking for another opportunity.
Oh,
Anyways,
right.
yeah, see, you don't remember. Okay. All right, so guys, we'll stay in for the news after this one, right? All right, so can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
All right, next news.
Next
Let's go
news.
through this
Why?
fast because I'm interested in the one after very much. Let's go through this one fast. Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay. Next news.
Um, Next news. Why Poland is abandoning the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church in Poland is grappling with a significant decline in its following, as recent census data reveals a drop from 88% to 71% in Catholic affiliation between 2011 and 2021. The percentage of nuns nearly tripled from 2.4% to 6.9% in the same period, and the number of people refusing to answer questions about religion altogether surged from just 7% to 20%. This decline is particularly evident among younger Poles, with only 16% of those under 40 considering religion very important, compared to 40% of older individuals. The number of Poles attending Sunday Mass has also plummeted from 47% at the turn of the millennium to 28% today. This waning influence is exacerbated by the church's alignment with Poland's conservative law and justice party, particularly on divisive issues such as the near total abortion ban and anti LGBT stances. As the church faces a crisis of credibility and relevance, it confronts a younger generation increasingly disenchanted from its role in both spiritual and public spheres. So, this is when I was reading this article, I was thinking about how one of the greatest tools to push people into abandoning religion is theocracy. And I'm not saying that Poland is a theocracy, let me be clear. But what we do see is a very strong influence of the Catholic Church into like basically all aspects of public life. Very strong influence on the right-wing parties in Poland that have pushed forward a lot of legislation that is very damaging to the individual liberties of its citizens, pushing forward a lot of homophobia, very explicit, really dangerous homophobia. And it reminded me of the reaction of Iranians to the Islamic Republic. It's like when the citizens are just constantly confronted by the tyranny of religious beliefs being pushed upon them. It's literally, you just see people leaving en masse within a single generation. Yeah, exactly. So Yusuf is saying, sounds similar to Iran. That's what I'm saying.
And Seed is also having a good point.
Yeah, he's saying when religion is pushed, people lose interest. And one thing that I thought was really interesting about this article is that it talked about how Poland could be reaching, I can't remember the phrase that they used, but basically a generational breaking point. Because if such a high degree of my generation of Poles are leaving Catholicism, they're not going to there's going to be way less transference to the next generation. So there's going to be like basically a break in the transfer of faith, right? And that's going to very much shift Polish identity because people were talking about how Catholicism has played such an important role in Polish identity, especially in the post-communist era.
Yes. I've been to Poland. It's everywhere. It's in their radio. It's in their politics. It's in the streets. It's everywhere. It feels a little bit forced, based on my very limited experience there. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, look at the laws that have come into effect. Like the abortion, the near total abortion ban that was pushed is extremely dangerous, and also going to have long-term generational consequences. Yusuf is saying, could you guys also help out in getting Indonesian Muslims to not take their religion as seriously? I know this is something I think about a lot. The ex-Muslim movement has made a lot of progress, but the problem is that it's mostly focused on the MENA region. And there isn't a lot of focus on Indonesia and Malaysia, which is a huge missed opportunity because that's actually where like the most Muslims are in the world.
It's fair to say Indonesia. Yeah, Indonesia is the largest Islamic country in the world, and it's completely ignored. Not just by Muslim. I've been to a Cairo conference, one time, and there was an Indonesian imam who was complaining to me about Muslims as well. Like Muslims don't take Middle East, like Muslims in the West don't really take Indonesian and Malaysian Muslims seriously as well.
Well, it's not even in the West; it's in the Muslim world
Middle East
as well.
Yeah.
Like I was looking on Reddit to try to find this video about this, because you wanted me to find this video that I sent you previously of this Saudi guy basically saying some pretty bad things about Palestinians and how they're not Arabs. And I found this video. I was able to find a different version or track it down and find it in this Reddit. And it was a Reddit for Malaysians. And the comments in the Reddit were all basically like, wait until you guys realize how they feel about us. They're like, if there's this Saudi talking this way about like Palestinians as an ethnicity, what do you think they think about us? And I was like,
right.
It's
all right. We need to wait. Hold on. Let me write something.
Yeah.
I really want this next story. So let's move on to the next story. Okay. All right. And do we have a story after the story? Oh, yeah,
Well, I wanted to
yes, we
talk
do.
about your article.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, yeah, okay, sure. So we can clap for this one, right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Next news.
Next news. The surprising rise of psychedelic churches in America. In a fascinating twist on modern spirituality, psychedelic churches like the Divine Assembly in Salt Lake City and the, I don't know how to pronounce this, the P Sanctuary Church in Louisville are filling the spiritual void for the religiously unaffiliated, often referred to as nuns. These churches offer an alternative form of spiritual expression that focuses less on a higher power and more on the individual being and quote unquote pure consciousness. The Divine Assembly, founded by a former member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, so an ex Mormon, Steve or Corkhart, aims to connect people to quote self, others, and the divine without dogma or intermediaries. It even offers an educational initiative called the Shroomiversity to teach people how to grow psilocybin mushrooms. The Sanctuary Church, on the other hand, defines itself as a constitutional church and views the use of sacred mushrooms as both a spiritual right and an expression of political freedom. These churches are not atheistic, but maintain an inclusive notion of belief, emphasizing that, quote, the divine is not elsewhere, but within everyone. Through a range of activities from ice baths to meditation, members engage in collective meaning making rituals that enrich their life beyond the walls of the church.
Meaning making rituals? That sounds amazing. This is what we need. This is how we defeat religion. This is the church I could completely get behind.
I don't know.
Guys,
It is
this
a
is how
lot of
we
woo. It's a lot of woo woo.
woo. Oh
It's
really?
very woo woo.
I thought they were just more scientific about like meaning making, just meditating, taking psychedelics, getting in touch with your consciousness and stuff like that. No,
Some
there's
people,
superstition.
some churches are kind of like that, or some members use it like that. And then, because I watched,
Mm.
not only did I read the full article, but I watched a video profiling a few of these churches, and some are more woo woo than others.
Mm, okay, but there's a potential opportunity here of churches without the woo. Okay, because all those feelings religious people have when they pray and talk to God and stuff, that's exactly you could create that with psychedelics, right? If it's done with professionals. Again, I am not an expert. Having professionals and talking to professionals, because this is a very sensitive topic. You need to have experts and doctors and whatever prescribe that for you or whatever, right? So we have research right now. We seem to have research right now that shows a lot of these things are good for you if they are done in a controlled environment by prescribed by experts and stuff like that, right? Not to do. And these so-called churches could be that environment. Like you could have churches where you have experts there that create a safe environment for you to do that, get into that mental state where people feel like, when religious people, when they talk to God or whatever, that's the mental state that a lot of people desire. And psychedelics could get you there better than any religion, as long as you have a safe environment and it's done under the watch of people that know what they're doing, and it's prescribed by people, doctors and stuff like that, right? So
But this
I don't
isn't
know. I
this
think
isn't a
like
medical setting. This is very explicitly not a medical setting.
no,
That's
okay, no.
part of
So
the issue.
I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about this. Then I'm just trying. This is giving me an idea for not. First of all, you don't need a medical setting. You just need to for it to be medically prescribed by somebody, and then have a setting where it's nice and safe and has the right atmosphere. And the people that need to be there, they don't need to have medical expertise. They just need to be able to have enough expertise to support you and provide you calm and make sure you don't have a bad trip or something like that, right? Make sure that the general experience is a good experience, right? this is what people need these days. We have a loneliness epidemic right now, and people need to go to places where they feel important and taken care of, right? And we need churches like this. We need secular churches that is not about God, not about woo. People could get in touch with their consciousness with the help of psychedelic and stuff, and be aware of whatever, get that sense of awe, that spiritual feeling that they long for, and also just be in touch with other people. Somebody come and takes care of them like they're important, pamper them somewhere, like with some of these spas and stuff that you mentioned. A lot of times where the reason why alternative medicine, is works on some people, is because of placebo, and because of, not because of the medicine doesn't work, obviously, right? Because if it worked, it wouldn't be alternative medicine. But the reason why a lot of people feel better is because of the environment they go to. There's somebody. It's not like most hospitals. It doesn't feel like you're
It's the
just like
personal
being shoved
attention.
into the.
It's the
There's
attentiveness.
personal attention. Yes, you just go into this wooey place, and then somebody comes and treats you like a human being, treats you like you're important. So the medicine is not doing anything for you, but you feel special. You feel like I mean something to somebody, and that
Cared
makes you
for,
feel a lot
nurtured.
better. Care for nature. Yeah, we need a place like that. We need a place where people go to. It could be called a church, and there are people there that just welcome you in, treat you like you're important, and if you need to have that spiritual experience, there's also psychedelics for you to try.
Yeah, so my thing is that these churches are not non-theistic. And
Right.
but what you're getting at is something that's really interesting, in which, so I watched like a short little mini Vice profile about some of these congregations in America. And they were asking people who were participating, literally, like, are you, you're getting to an interesting point where a lot of people that were attending these quote unquote services were not doing it because of the spirituality. They were explicitly saying that they were doing it for the healing. And when asked, they're like, would you be here if this drug was legal? And they said no. So basically, people are coming to these churches because they want access to this drug, and they only are allowed access to this drug through the basically a loophole in the First Amendment, which guarantees this as a part of your expression of faith.
Mm,
So they want
okay.
access to the healing elements that they feel that this drug can provide, and they can only access it legally through these congregations. And even that is very legally dicey. It's very legally dicey. Um, and so this is a problem. Not only for these congregations, because for them to maintain access to this drug and use of this drug legally, they have to
Mhm.
show that the faith is sincere. And if a lot of people in the congregations are not actually engaging with the faith, quote unquote, faith in a sincere way, that might cause issues for them. But like, I have no problem with people trying to access this for a healing purpose. Um, there is a lot of very interesting research that is now coming out about therapeutic use of hallucinogens for trauma, for protracted forms of mental illness. I still want that to be studied much more. That needs to be done in a tightly controlled setting. And I worry about this being promoted too much, because I have personally seen the effects on my friends of people who take these drugs and latent mental illness is unleashed upon their life. I'm not fear mongering when I say that you can take these drugs and severe mental experiences that you previously never had before in your life. This drug will open up that gene potential, essentially. That latent mental illness is unleashed. And then they have serious mental health consequences because of the use of this drug. That's not a joke. I've seen people never be the same again. And so I don't think that's something that should just be treated flippantly. and like, oh, this is just like a way to find community and healing and all this stuff. It is a risk, and I want people to understand that risk.
Yeah, that's why I said we should have it in a professional. If I am for psychedelics, it's because recent studies shows that it's good for mental health if it's in a controlled environment, if it's done right. It's not like you could just go pick these up by yourself and just use them and expect that same effect. Like, you need to be right. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think especially with Americans, like America's war on drugs, a lot of people go too far in thinking that a lot of the stuff that they learned is just like, propaganda, essentially, like anti-drug propaganda. But no, there are very serious consequences to some of this drug use. And it's devastating. I've seen it happen firsthand, and it's horrifying.
Yeah. But do you think what I was doing is irresponsible, like the way I'm celebrating some of the new studies that are finding that these could help people, like some of these psychedelics could like really help people? Because
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
I am
fine, but you were kind of mixing up the medical with this setting, which is spiritual.
right,
When you're talking about
right,
this
right,
being administered in the state of professionals, what does that mean in one of these
right.
settings? I think they need to. I think they need to be very distinct.
This is a good comment.
Daniel had the funniest comment that I had to highlight. He saw the hero image in the article, and he said the fedora is a red flag. I don't trust it.
That's funny. All right. We have some. Oh, by the way, Dolly is reminding everybody to hit the like button. Thank you so much, Dolly. I miss you. I miss talking to you. I miss having you in the live chat. So thank you for being here. And we have 2 super chats. Do you want to read those?
Yes, Asian American. Thank you. Saying thoughts on Saint Josaphat being the Siddhartha Gautama, but also a Catholic saint. Maybe use him to tap into spiritual but not religious demographic. Okay, so I don't know the history of this particular saint or icon, but it's immediately sounds like a case of Catholic syncretism. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like the Virgen de Guadalupe, like where a local idol is kind of subsumed into Catholic practice to become appealing to the local populace. I'm assuming it's one of those. And Asian American also gave another super chat saying, okay, this is going to be a difficult word for me. Pitsutin de Chutril is the deity of shrooms. They are used in clinical settings with talk therapy. Doctors can start these churches. Then I don't know if it should be considered a church.
I mean, calling it a church is just a way to make it fun, and for people, just make it more. I mean, it's something could not be a church. You just could call it the church just to make the transition easier for people who coming from that. When the churches were being used as a way to give people what they needed, maybe just calling it a church make the transition easier for some people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
And so Dave gave another super chat. It's unrelated to the previous story. And he said, what do you think of Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea alliance? It seems like the reunification of the Mongol Empire 800 years later.
I never thought about it like that. I mean, with that Mongol, but yeah, but it's missing Mongols. That's what it's missing. It's everybody but the Mongols in this unification, right? Yeah. I think it's more like the forces of illiberalism getting together. That's what it is. This is an illiberal power. These are the forces uniting against liberal values. That's what's happening here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a new axis.
Yeah. Axis of evil.
Do
Um,
you want to talk about your article this week or next week?
well, yeah, maybe next week because I want
Okay.
to do the included in the nine news so that we could talk about well because we are going over time right now. Yeah,
Exactly.
cool.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. Oh,
So if we're going to move that one to next week, then we can go ahead and talk about our membership update.
yes.
So for those who are not aware, Atheist Republic
Send me the
is
link
working.
in the private
What?
chat. Send me the link so I can show it
Okay.
in the private chat. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Thank
So
you.
what was I saying? Okay. So, guys, if you've been here for a while, or maybe you knew, you might be aware that Atheist Republic has been dealing with some financial difficulties as an organization lately. And we have, stopped the bleeding from an immediate sense, so to speak, but we are still working on making sure that our programming is sustainable and stable in the long term. And one of the biggest things that we want to do is when we had this financial crisis, I had to make the difficult decision to lay off our news writers. And we really want to bring back our news writers because they contribute so meaningfully to our community and also the quality of the programming that we bring to you, our audience members, and our members, our community. So, our goal to bring back our news team is to get 50 $10 monthly donors. And this is the best way to support Atheist Republic. This is the best way to make sure that this show continues, that our programming continues, and this community that comes together and spends time together and talks about these difficult issues and controversial topics in a way that I think promotes a good mix of rationalism and compassion. We need to make sure this thrives. And to do that, we need to have some monthly donors. So our latest fundraising update is that we have 19 out of 50 of our goal. So our goal is 19, excuse me, our goal is 50. Right now we have 19. So if you love this show, if it brings value to your life, if you're one of those people that is like, wow, I like your content so much, but why don't more people know about you? Why don't you get more views? Well, what would help us is if we were more stable as an organization and that we had more funds so that we could do more outreach and take our organization and our work to the next level. One of the fixtures of doing nonprofit work is basically all organizations are chronically under-resourced. And we want to make sure that we can bring the best programming possible to you guys. And so we need to raise the resources to do so. So please, if you like what we do, if you want to make sure that it continues, become a monthly donor.
Yes.
The $10 monthly donors are our number one goal, but maybe you just want to go for the novelty 666 level. That's also good.
19 is pretty good. We're 6 donors away from halfway there.
Yeah, we're almost halfway there.
Get us to guys, get us to 25. 6 more, just 6 more, so we could say we're halfway there. Because if we get to 50, that means like we're secure financially. So guys, out of 50, we're at 19. We can sleep easy at night if we are at 50 monthly donors. That would be amazing. That would, if we could focus on our work rather than have to worry about wondering if we could pay our bills or not. So that would be fantastic.
Kiana is saying proud donator since today and Patreon and a Patreon since some time. Yeah, Kian, I get the notifications on my phone every time. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think we have a new monthly donor. So thank you, Kian, for being a supporter. Thank you for being proud to support our work. It means a lot.
Thank you. Oh, we got Sid also gave us a lot of super chats today. So he's saying, I made you guys a millionaire today. Yes, you did, Sid.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Sid.
much
You're
for
very,
that.
very generous today.
Yes, yes. And
This
also,
this
let's do
this
the
Sid Dave is the good Sid, and then brother Sid is the asshole Sid.
is the
Okay,
bad. Yes.
we love
So
Sid Dave.
wait, don't yeah. Well, be careful with YouTube. Don't say that word. But yes, guys, like the stream because Susie used bad words.
Big words,
Please like.
big words.
Yeah, big word. Oh, by the way, also, guys, if you can't donate, that's fine. Just like the video and leave comments. Those help as well. So that really helps. So, oh my God, we just got a big super chat from Secular Sakai. Look
Oh
at
my
that.
goodness! Wow, Sakai, holy crap! $50 super chat. God damn.
Thank you.
Saying, can we do something like a promo for exclusive art or small piece of merch if someone does $10 a month or more? I would help supply rewards to new monthly donors so we can get to 40. If we get there, I'll make mine the equivalent of 10 donors. Holy
Wow.
crap, Sakai, that is such a generous offer. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
and
we could do
Seed
that.
of Iblis literally just said that he donated. Well, thank you, Iblis.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I have been thinking a lot about our monthly donor accrual and rewards. And if you want to message me and we can talk about this, feel free to do so. There's some stuff on the back end that make this a
I
little
think
bit complicated, but I have been thinking about this and I want to pursue stuff like this.
well, talk to me about this as well because I think I might have a way that we could make that happen. So if you talk to Secular Sakai, talk to me about it as well. Okay. But yeah. But that's a great idea. And thank you. Guys, that means we only have to make it to 40. And if we make it to 40, we already made it to 50. Guys, so we're already halfway there because 19. Yes, that's good. Because we already got 20. Some other people just say that they became donors right now. So we're at 20.
Wait, really?
Oh, guys, make sure you click this one when it says make this a monthly donation because we need a steady source. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I won't say the name
at
because I don't know if they want to, but yeah, we just got another monthly donor right now. Thank you so much.
So we're at 20. Guys, so given that we only have to make it to 40, now that we're at 20, that means we're halfway there.
But yeah, Sakai, let's talk about this because I will probably integrate this into the email appeals that I've been working on doing. I've been working hard on our strategies, you guys.
Yeah.
Daniel also just gifted 10 AR memberships. Thank you so much, Daniel. That's so generous. And we got a few other super chats that are not about donations and stuff. So should we dig into those?
Yes, let's do those.
Okay. Sid Dave is saying, will you ever do a call-in show? It would be fun trying. We used to do more of the Q&A call-in show.
I would start doing call-in shows once a week once we hit 50, and we'll try to see if it works. Once we hit 50,000 subscribers, I will start doing call-in shows. How about that?
Well, what
So
we
get us
used
to
to do
50K.
is that it was YouTube members that would have access to the information to call in. Remember?
Yeah, but no, I would do that. I would do something special like that for members as well. But I would do call-in shows with general, with anybody, like with people in general. Once we hit 50K subscribers. So guys, subscribe, get us to 50K, and I will start that show. I will maybe do a weekly or bi-weekly show that is a call-in show.
Yeah. Amazing. So a few more super chats. Sid said, what do you think of a post-religious society using religious iconography like Lady Justice, Statue of Liberty being Athena? I personally like it. It's an interesting idea. I was actually watching a video yesterday about American civic religion, and it's the idea that Americans are religious about the idea of America. Yeah, it's very interesting, like thought exercise, so to speak.
Can we do a blasphemous art like this? I think I like this idea. Let's do that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
All right.
Sid Dave also gave another super chat saying, Armin, what happened to that whole collie thing? Is it all forgotten and good now? It seems like Hindufa folks accepted defeat and moved on.
Yeah, I mean,
Surprisingly,
got,
we have not been harassed by them for some time.
yes. I mean, we don't have our Facebook and Twitter is still not accessible in India, right? So there's that. But overall, that whole anger, a lot of people say you have to back down or else this will get worse, and we didn't back down, and it didn't get worse. And people got desensitized. It became old news, like we predicted. That's why you shouldn't back down. When you blaspheme, don't let people intimidate you into backing down. It's the effect is the exact opposite. If you want them to eventually go away, you have to show that their tactics don't work. Exactly what as we predicted. What we predicted happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Cajun American said, thoughts on growing shrooms off of communion wafers. Stack it in the shape of Jesus. The doctor gives the peace and the priest gives the wine. Now, here's the thing. I know that the actual process of growing psychedelic mushrooms and truffles is very difficult. Actually, it can be very difficult. So I don't know if you can grow them off of that kind of a wafer. Especially like the truffles. Getting the truffles right it's very, very difficult. So I
have some ideas
I
that
literally don't physically know if it's possible to do it on communion wafers.
Yeah. I don't even know if we can mention these things on YouTube. Guys, please, if you're using any substances, just talk to a professional. We're not experts here, and all of that legal stuff that I have to say right now, just assume I said all of them, okay? Just don't do anything. Don't do anything that affects your body in any way without taking expert opinions into. Just know that me and Susanna have no expert knowledge on any of these, and it's your responsibility to make these decisions based on good information out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think I covered
I have to say, one thing that's been amusing me about the live chat is seeing our local Miriam, our beloved Miriam, fighting with a brother Sid about being true Christians.
Oh, we got another super chat.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sid. Saying the threat level is also different from different groups. Christian, Jewish, and Hindu extremists don't hold a candle to the Islamic ones. Islamic one is real. It's not that other forms of violence from these other groups isn't real. It's just what is most likely to become a tangible offline threat. And in this case, it is more probable that in an Islamic sense, it is more likely to become a tangible offline threat.
The threat level is also different from groups. I mean, I would argue that Christianity also has a global threat level, given the level of influence it has on U.S. politics and how U.S. politics affects the world.
That's different, though. He's talking about terrorism.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Islam then takes the number 1, 2, and 3 ranking. It would be Islam.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you look at the data, it's like not even comparable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, especially in the modern age.
Oh, by the way, we're legally covered. Our in-house lawyer just
our in-house lawyer, Mariam John. This is random, but I wanted to share with our English side that Armin and I have been, because when we were talking about the issue of Israel and Iran earlier in the show, I didn't mention that we have been talking about doing Holocaust education on our Persian side of our community, because the idea came to me recently that growing up in Iran, like you not only did you probably you didn't receive Holocaust education, you actually received, big H denying propaganda. And I thought it would be really
we weren't mentioned. The big H was not mentioned in school to us. That I mean, that I remember. And the person who denied it was Ahmadinejad, which kind of made many people realize that it's a big thing that happened, because Ahmadinejad was not very popular. Like, I think that was like backfired. And I don't know, because a lot of people in Iran, when I grew up in Iran, people consume Hollywood movies all the time, and a lot of Hollywood movies were big on mentioning the Holocaust and stuff. So I think a lot of people were aware about how big of a deal it was through Hollywood movies. So I don't know. I don't know that, honestly. I don't know the
But
level of awareness.
learning about it through Hollywood is totally different than understanding the atrocities in an educational context.
Right. I
I
mean, Schindler's
I
List
don't
is
think that's like comparable, and actually it's like dangerous to think that one will suffice, that the Hollywood version is going to suffice. I think that's absurd.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
because I showed Armin videos about the Iranian Schindler. There was
Yes.
Abdul Hussein Sadari, like, was this Iranian diplomat that saved like thousands of Jews.
I'll do a show on him on the
Very,
Persian
very
show.
cool. This guy was a badass.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we need to move on. We need to leave the show. So let's read this as super chat and then go.
Yes, Sid is saying, to be honest, even in India, I never learned about the Holocaust.
Wow. Oh, wow. Holy crap. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. I guess we're right. We need to do a show on that. All right, guys. We need to go. It's been a long time since, we've been doing this 3 hours, Susie. We need to make sure we cut the show shorter. But thank you guys for bearing with us. You guys didn't give up on us this entire time. So thank you for being here with us. But make sure we spent 3 hours for you and more. Susanna spent time before the show even collecting the news. You could spend 1 second liking this show. 1 second. If you want to spend more time, you could also leave a comment. That would really help the show. But at least like and subscribe and hit the bell notification. The bell notification is essential. A lot of people don't take that seriously. If you just subscribe, when we go live, YouTube will these people are not that serious. They only subscribe. I'm not going to tell them that Armin and Susanna are live. But if you hit the bell notification, the YouTube will oh my God, these people really want to get updated. They want to know when Armin and Susanna are live. And that's when YouTube will tell you. So make sure you hit the bell notification, please. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, see you guys. Me and Susanna will see you guys same time next week. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Oh, we should do... No, let's do that. You should do the thing we do with Elliot. Assalamu alaikum.